Good evening to everyone listening to the Money Space with Kalu Aja. Welcome back, guys. Have I missed you guys? Yes, I've missed you guys a lot. Thank you for joining. On our new handle, if you notice the new handle, I had some issues with my prior handle. Still working on it, but we're here. So let's go back to what we do best, which is talk about the money, the economy, personal finance. Make it personal to you, right? The whole idea is to make this money thing personal to you. The stuff that you hear out there, how can you use it? That's what we do here. We'll be here for at least an hour or two. Lumide is here. If you have a question, just request to speak or send a DM and we'll grab it. The topic today is the Nigerian economy. What are the good stories so far? We want to talk about, if you're a Nigerian, you obviously are invested in Nigeria. Even if you don't invest in stocks and bonds, you earn in Nigeria, you live in Nigeria. What are those good stories? What can you invest in? What is happening out there that you can put your money into? What should you look out for? That's what we want to talk about, right? And again, like I know you guys normally just ask any other question. You're free to do so. If you don't want to talk about this topic, you're free to then jump in as well. But Lunde, you want to say hi before we go ahead and talk about the other topics? How you doing, Lunde? Thanks for being here.
Yeah, it's good to see you again, Caleb. I wish Twitter sorts your issue out. Interestingly, a lot of people reach out to me to ask about your condition, and it was just a tech page from a previous account. But the reality is that I think a lot of people admire you, even your critics. I was so surprised when a couple of critics that I have a relationship with reach out and hope Carl is fine and things like that. So it just tells you that some people have some level of decency despite their diverse ideology, and I think you're pretty doing very well. So I think we're going to really run things around the economy, and just like you said, what is really moving in Nigeria in the past week.
Thank you, Lumia. I do appreciate that. And if you could get back to them, I'll just say I appreciate the comments. I did get a lot of emails also on Instagram asking about me. Thank you for those text of concern. I appreciate it. I welcome it. I thank you. Let's get right into it, right? If I was to read the fundamentals of the Nigerian economy right now, just looking at the database, right? Unemployment rate not looking too good, exchange rate not looking too good, inflation not looking too good, GDP growth rate not looking too good. What would you say? I have my own. I have two things I want to talk about. I think that are important for Nigerians right now. I know the Nigerian government just passed the Nigerian Consumer. I think it's the Nigerian Consumer Credit Fund. I'll get the exact name. That has been launched. Although I was a bit confused about how they would operate, but it's been launched. They got about 52 billion, and they want to drive consumer credit. I like that a lot. It was in the budget. I was happy that it's out in April. So it's now started. Even though it's going to start bumpy, it's started. I also like the fact that Jim Ovia was appointed Nigerian Education Trust Fund chairman. That brings some gravitas to that institution and to that process. So I'm also hoping that on the student loan side, on the consumer banking side, that those two things are what I can point to and say, okay, there's some traction here. Prior to this, we would have pointed to the fuel subsidy and the Naira float. But I think we've gone back on the subsidy a bit, and Naira float is here and there. So those are my own 2 points in terms of specific policy that I've seen in the administration. What about yours? What have you seen, market-wise and policy-wise?
I think market-wise, it's been quiet for investors in the stock market. This quiet. If you look at month-to-date returns, it's been quite dismissed and horrible, and pretty much we see banking stocks melting like ice cream in the sun.
Yeah.
I think I did a month-to-date return, and First Bank lost about 42%. GT is down about all of its value. Assets the same. Zenith. So we just only have Zenith with the 1 trillion naira market valuation, and pretty much because of the market, the CBN's announcement on market capitalization.
Yeah.
And you know well that it's a heavily regulated financial industry where the CRR is almost at an all-time high, people at an all-time high, above 5%. So investors are quite becoming very picky with attraction in the money market. But I think the elephant in the room in the markets this week, as far as Nigeria is concerned, was the FX market. At some point, we saw the Naira at some segment of the market going as high as 1,400 to 1,450 before moderating as we speak to around 1,280. And that was because we saw the liquidity in the market, despite the fact that the CBN chief announced that there was some inflows. We saw that the Naira liquidity gained attention, and that was pretty much suspicious from the FAC allocation, because there was this study I did, and the business study collated on that too, where at certain intervals where allocation is shared, especially when the floating exchange system was enacted by President Tinubu, we saw that the Naira usually depreciates. So the depreciation where the Naira lost about a third of its value in a span of 2 weeks, was quite scary before we saw some stability over the weekend. I think then the announcement of the diaspora fund, first we had news about 30 billion, which was quite like a fantasy when you understand Nigeria's total FX assets, CBN. I think it was adjusted to 10 billion. I think it looks exciting, but the truth of the matter is that we have too many things chasing investors, both local and foreign, the money market, the stock market, bank with the capitalization, Nigeria grew 600 billion, and infrastructure. So it's left to be seen if that would be a success. But I think interestingly, what the revelation this week is that it seems there's a correlation with corruption and food inflation. If you look back at what is happening in Kogi, for example, you see that the EFCC chief disclosed the fact that the former governor spent almost $1 billion naira, that's the equivalent of $800,000 on his kids' school fees. I now did a survey on the NGX, Carlo. There are at least a dozen companies on the NGX with a market valuation of less than $1 billion, and they have employees and secondary supply chain exposure of at least 1,000 people. So we will see how the leakage in our country's FAC allocation aspect has affected the economy, because food inflation is quite very high, despite the fact that Kogi is not the worst hit in terms of insecurity. Kogi has a local amount of arable land and is connected to the confluence, the River Niger, River Benue. So one becomes to now see that it seems that inefficiency of funds in our system has really had a large role in food inflation upside, because that's the state that has the highest food inflation in Nigeria. So those are the things for me in summary.
Yeah, you raised a lot of issues, and we're going to come back to them one after the other. Number one, just explain to us why, when banks say they're going to raise money, their share price is dropping. Just to listeners follow, why are the share price of Nigerian banks falling when they say they're going to raise money from the capital market? Just explain that to us.
Okay, so in basic, I'm just going to be as basic as possible. So banks are usually in Nigerian banks now have been very profitable. You look at where their profitability has come from, treasury management, and they've been able to diversify their income. If you look at a bank of UBA, for example, UBA is making a ton of its income outside Nigeria. So what the CBN was trying to work on was that it realized that many of Nigeria's core banks are acting like an investment bank, where they focus more on treasury rather than giving out loans. So the CBN increased the amount banks have to keep with their capitalization more than tenfold. And the irony of it all is that the CBN excluded retained earnings, that means profits that the banks have kept over the years, and that really quite very because what the Apex Bank was trying to do was for them to raise capital. So investors are looking at it that how visible is it for those banks, knowing the level of financial state of many markets, particularly the fact that US Fed has still kept rates quite high, so the cost of borrowing is still elevated, and also might also lead to share dilution because despite the fact that a lot of people are saying that it's going back into the market in form of rights issue, and some banks could go through bonds. It's still certain that the valuation of those entities or investors will be diluted. So investors, rather than cut on cost fires, reduce their exposure. But it's fair to say that if you look at the worst hits now, the worst hit in GT, so First Bank, it's not just recapitalization. You look at the CEO, he surprisingly left the bank, and this was a man that really changed the tides of First Bank. You remember what happens when during the Awushika and Awushika, Emefiele, and remember that saga? The CEO, he steered the ship properly, and the bank became quite attractive that Motetola bought into the bank. So I think investors are quite on the sidelines, despite the fact that the person heading the new bank is quite experienced and he has been in that institution for a while. So we saw record sell-offs in that bank before. It was even at some point about half of First Bank's share valuation from its record that was wiped out before some gains were recorded. So I think it just highlights the toughened economic regulatory set by the CBN, and the fact that investors are also doubting the fact that will banks be able to make the kind of profits they are making. Dividend, the dates for dividend, some of these banks have met, the dividend dates of some of these banks have been met. So some investors have already gotten some of the dividend and feel like they should sell. So that's also part of the reason. But finally, I think it's not something to be worried about, because if you look at their balance, if you look at the top 5 banks, look at their balance sheet, and look at the way these banks have strategized their portfolio differently, I think it would be wrong for you to bet against them. So I think certain banking notas are positioned themselves. That's why we saw First Bank at some point last week gain about 10%, but it's been a very week on the NGX. In fact, only 2 stocks on the NGX, NGX 30, that's an index of blue chip stocks that have strong positivity or ended green this month, and it's Business Nigeria. Business Nigeria was one of the heaviest laggers this year, so I think that really helped. And those are the only 2 stocks that are blue chip. But the best performer on the NGX, it's Morris Industry. It's up by more than 100%. And that's what investors' prices on that stock.
So if I understand what you're saying, because there's going to be new money raised in the Nigerian stock market. So the guys that have if I have current shares of, say, UBA, and UBA is going to come to the market to raise more shares, I am thinking that I'm going to get diluted. So I'm taking my profit today. Is that what is happening? I'm taking my profit today. So I'm selling down my shares and then watching what UBA will do, maybe come to the market to raise funds. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, that's partly what's happening, because the banks, investors are not really worried about the fundamentals of Nigerian banks. From basic perspective, the banks are still quite solid. Look at customer deposit across major banks. MTNB had the best profit in a decade. FANB was minting money like they were working in the minting press. You look at Wema also, the bank alert. So despite the fact that some of these banks are tier 2, they've been able to make strategic earnings in different positions. So investors are worried that it seems Cardoso and the new CPN team is really heavily focused on core banking product, which is criminal loan. And Cardoso said in the last MPC meeting, categorically, he said it twice, I heard it. He said that they are going to be very aggressive on the regulatory stance. So the fact that he has relocated some of his workers to Lagos office, he seems to be fulfilling such promise. And that's also investors are reading those as they want to be cautious, want to be caught on cost to take profits. And Carlo, the banks, banking index last year had more than 60% gain. So it should be fair for some investors to take profits off the table and buy as they take. That's my opinion.
Okay, so is the banking, in your view, is the banking recapitalization good or bad? I mean, we're taking it back to Twitter title. Is it a good idea to raise capital? I think it's a good idea because, of course, Nigeria wants to be the largest economy in Africa. We were the largest economy in Africa as of last month. Now we're number 4, I believe. It's now South Africa. Who is it again? Egypt. Are we 3 or 4? South Africa, Egypt. I think there's one more country before Nigeria, or Nigeria is 3rd, right? So, and the target, as I heard, is to make us a $1 trillion economy. Nigeria right now is a below $300 billion economy. 2 years ago, Nigeria was nearly $500 billion economy. So we've regressed. We've gone from the 500, we're back to the below 300, and we're now number 3 or 4 in Africa. So do you link in this banking capitalization, is it a good idea to raise the bank's capital, and will that sort of key us into becoming number 1 trillion? What's your view, top line?
I think what Caruso is trying to do, my guess is that he wants stronger banking institutions. And, just like you repeated, the fact that the federal government has an ambitious $1 trillion economy, which I think is a fantasy. Looking at the present number we are in and the level of productivity we are, I think it's a number that we might not attain in the next 2 decades. But I would say that, you look at Ernst & Young's report that only 7 Nigerian banks will likely scale through.
Wow.
That was before.
Only 7?
And the reason was because, only 7. The reason was because they looked at the fact that some banks were relying on CBN funds. Forbearance in some banks are still strong. Some, Carl, I just want to mention names. We know that some banks don't have business to be in that environment. So I think what we'll see is consolidation, merger, and definitely we're going to see the fact that those that come out stronger will definitely have more opportunities. But you said something that was quite very, very important here. While Cardoso is building, while the CBN is trying to work on strong financial institutions, I think the issue here is that the fiscal side, the way the economy has often been isolated. Because over the years, Nigerian banks are still one of the well-managed institutions in the country. We're talking in terms of corporate governance, talking about audit release of results and things like that. We have a company that was delisted in South Africa. I don't want to mention its name. Another company. And this company had not released its result as far back as 2021 or 2022. You can imagine. So the level of corporate governance in other sectors are faulty. The real sector is really suffering. And I think while the banks are consolidating their strength, I think the reality is that we might not see the banks taking advantage of period, because I think the banks are no more looking at the Nigerian economy per se. Because if you look at the results and which banks are making money, we tell you that the productivity comes out well, and maybe the banks, apart from Access Bank that has a passive loan book, and that's also very creative about that strategy, you see that many banks are focused more on treasury. So my guess is that, yes, why you could say that those banks would definitely make position them in the aspiration of the presidency future. The reality is that what we are seeing the fiscal side seems to be far-fetched.
Okay, so again, you are saying that yes, it's a good idea to raise capital, but you are saying that the target of 1 trillion is fanciful. That's about 7-8% growth in a year. If you do the math, that's Nigeria has to grow 7-8% every year to achieve that. More than that, every year. So we've already missed 2022. We've already missed last year. So we're going to take the 7% for last year and add to the remaining 9 years that are remaining. So every year we miss, we add, and this is in line with no power per se. We're still struggling with first. So you are saying yes, the trillion target is good, the bank idea to raise capital is good, but you don't think that it's not baked in reality. That's what I'm hearing you. And let me just quickly, before we move forward, I want to go from Nigerian banks to inflation before we come to the Naira. I want to really, a lot of fools, I don't talk about the Naira today. I want to really talk about the Naira. I'm going to share this also on the Twitter feed once I give it to you. If you look at Nigerian banks, I looked at Access, First Bank, GT, UB, and Zenith. If you look at all these banks, look at Zenith Bank, for instance. And I've asked this question before, Limde. Zenith Bank's profit after tax, 666 billion. 676 billion. This is as at financial year end 2023. So they made 676 billion. If you take away the derivatives, swaps, currencies, take away all those quote unquote non-interest banking, it comes down to about 8 billion. So 676 and 8. So Zenith Bank is like a hedge fund. Straight up. I'll give you a comparison with say UBA. UBA is doing about 500 PAT, 607 billion PAT. If you take away all their currencies, everything, they're down to about 123, and they're number one. So if you take away they're looking at just their PAT without the swaps, currencies, they're number one in Nigeria, about 123 billion. But when you look at Zenith, 676 to 8. Jesus, man, 676 to 8.
I'm not surprised, like Zenith, if you look at Zenith strategy, you look at ever since you passed the pattern to me, they focused on corporate banking. And that's why the new CEO, if you look at Adora's strength, Adora was the DMD and she was in charge of Abuja operation. You see, every bank in Nigeria has their strategy. But you see, I don't be more interested in the fact that, these banks, as far as it's concerned, the real sector has not benefited in terms of loan, just like you're saying, how are they passing these funds to real sector? And you can't blame the banks, because if you know the story of non-performing loans over the years, how it almost even destroyed First Bank. So you have to see the banks are playing the balance here.
Okay.
But I think while Cardoso is working on creating those things, I think the issue here is that, just like you said, the country does not have stable electricity. Energy supply is the equivalent of refrigerator consumption in the United States of America. If you also look at
slow down and say that again. They slow down.
8,000 plus, according to any
my God.
Partners. So the truth of the matter is that the banks have to be creative on how to make money. The banks, the shareholders will not take excuses. The tax authorities will tax them. The CBN, if they break the rules, they get fined. So why do people say banks? I don't understand, because if you say Senate is paying more of an edge for that, I know you can. If you say Senate, that's not what it should be. But the reality is that if you look at the likes of JP Morgan and Bank of America, they bank on solid businesses. Look at what YouTube made in Q1. YouTube made $8.1 billion. Nigeria's total revenue from non-oil last year was about 13 trillion naira. That's just about $8 billion. Now, if you add what YouTube made in 2023, that's 31.5 billion. A country of 200 million people cannot even make more money than a platform where skit makers make a living. So why are we eating on the banks? I think the problem here is that the fiscal side has really failed to perform their real functions. The real function of the economy is the economy is not stimulated, the economy is not growing, and the banks are not here for excuses. The banks are here to make money. So the banks are diversifying, the banks are becoming very creative. Look at assets with derivatives, they've been very solid. And you can't really blame them until we have the real economy working. I think the status quo will still remain.
Gotcha. So in essence, is the Nigerian banking story a good story as of today? And I'm gonna bring in the guys I want to speak. What final thoughts? Good story.
My final thought is that those guys are very brilliant. With what the running business operation in Nigeria with these conditions and bringing out. Yes, they are not saying some of these banks do funny things, but the truth of the matter is that with all their exposures and what they've done on the NGX, the capital market, the real economy, I think I'll give them a solid pass.
Solid pass, okay.
They do better, but I
All
think I'll give them a solid pass.
And I also agree with you. I think Nigerian banks are they've got the best staffing in Nigeria. So if you look at every Nigerian institution, I think Nigerian banks have got the cream of the crop of Nigerian educated and based employees. That's why they can make those profits they make. If you get good staff, your good staff can make the profit. And look at how they make profit when the people say the banks are making profit and the companies are not making profit. But the banks are making profit because they could forecast the economic winds. If you have a company with billions under management, you have trade with Switzerland, with the Netherlands, you should have your own treasury department. You should have people telling you that these are the risks and this is how you want to hedge those risks. You can't rely on your bank. Your bank is there as your business partner, but they can't advise you, right? You've got to get your own in-house treasury department. And I'm shocked that so many Nigerian multinationals do not have their own in-house treasury guys or their own independent advisor telling them. So you see, yeah.
Can you just look one thing? Just like I just want to retrace some of the facts you stated. Look at Zenith, for example. If you look at the Poincar's pair, then it has a very solid exposure there. The president, vice president is an alumni of Zenith. And you look at the manual of Zenith. Then if you look at GP, for example, also. So these banks have been able to focus on their core strength. And that's why I said that they understand that apart from looking at the traditional economic way of making money, they've also built a solid leverage system. And that's why it's very difficult to push the tier 1 banks away, even with the tedious recapitalization targets the CBN set for them.
Gotcha. Okay, let me get Oxley Tech in here. We'll get Oxley, Hills, and Olayinka, and Olumide will go back and talk about inflation. Oxley, thank you so much for hanging on. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Carlo, thank you for this opportunity. So, very good perspective that is being discussed here. So, the way I see it personally is Nigerian banks, just like you have said, they've got, the best hands in the country in terms of managing and optimizing its business. I think basically what the banks do, they are very good at balance sheet optimization, right? So they have done that pretty much well. And when you see the numbers from UDA, the tier 1 banks, it tells you a whole lot. And they are very good in that. Then secondly, the global markets for these banks, when I talk about the global markets, is the treasury department, just as has been said. Those are where the numbers in terms of coming from. But we will also know that the banks has faced a serious headwind, since this new administration came in, like in terms of managing of its asset and liability. You would imagine in the current industry where we are that overnight lending rates, among banks, when I'm talking about placement takings, are as much as 32%. Now, how would you want a bank, to make profit? It's really very, very tough. In fact, the current loans that we're running banks right now, all of them are running above 35%.
Wow.
Some, I'm telling you, just ask someone overnight lending rates in the industry in Japan. It's 31%. It's not anything below 30%. So it's crazy.
31.35.
So the cost of funds is crazy. So if the bank will manage to take up, look at the interest, look at the result that was published, look at the interest income aspect of some of these banks. You will see that they have managed to be able to even take out some money from from this industry. It's tough.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is this. The regulators have also not made it easy. I won't lie to you. They have not made. They have not.
Gotcha.
They have to do what they have to do anyway.
Oxley, so real quick, the overnight lending rate is about 31.35. You see that SMEs are borrowing at about 35%. So that means that we are killing the SMEs to fight inflation.
That is where I'm getting at. And I tell you, this 35% we're talking about, you can only get 31, 32, 33 to 35% if it is a term loan. Which means, term loan is locked down. If it is overdraft it is authorized or unauthorized, it swings between 35 and 40%.
40%.
So the 35% you're talking about is just for term loan
Wow.
that has a fixed term. So it is crazy. Where would you want the SMEs, the real sector to get money to do business in the kind of climate that we find ourselves?
Oxen, that means that
it's crazy.
I mean, the point is then let me come in defense of the CBN. The CBN says inflation is rising. Lumide has said they want to do inflation targeting. So as inflation goes up, they also have to inch up the monetary policy rate to fight inflation. So inflation now is 33%. So what's your take?
I get it.
Okay, but in terms of it kills SMEs, but it's fighting inflation. I want to talk a little bit about inflation. Well, that's the next topic. I want to find out if it is wise to target inflation for growth. That's the next topic. But let me just get Hills, the online card, then we'll just go to inflation. Actually, hang in there. I think you like the next topic. Hills, please go ahead.
Thank you. I want to make points from what you said that increasing interest rates so as to fight inflation. It may be possible in the Western countries where everything is on a system. That you can see everything. In Nigeria, we are still not. Everything is not integrated. People don't bank all their cash, and there's still a lot of unaccounted funds. So if you are now using that means that increase interest rates to fight inflation, you get to it will work in Nigeria setting the way I look at it. Because it's not that we can account for every of our cash. Everything is not going through the banking system. So using the same strategy of the Western world, US, Canada, to fight inflation will just at the end will kill small business enterprise, will frustrate startup. Even the big companies will die, because what kind of business will you make? When you look at it, at the end of the day, you have to pay almost 30% interest rate. So what is the profit? When the interest is even higher than the expected profit. So you just say that there will not be initiative, there will not be new expansion of businesses. The area I want to mean is the area of bank profits after tax. Ahead of the bank declaring that billions of naira, fear is this. I do not believe in any of the Nigerian banks. I see a lot of padding, if you ask me, because it's not translating. While I was in the university, I think it was in my final year around 2006, there are a lot of where all of them are doing IPO on shares. Buy this after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you put your leg on this tool, money will be coming in. Then I think First Bank was sold for around 13 naira per share. That was in the stock exchange market. Many years, 2016 now is almost 20 years, almost 2 decades. First Bank is sold for $20. For 20 naira per share. Now, inflation has risen and is not reflecting on the shares.
How?
Now, like what I'm saying, share price, if you check share price of most companies around 2006, it was up there. Zenith Bank, UBA, First Bank. I think after like 2-3 years, around 2009, 2010, everything crashed down. Now, even till now, First Bank is still selling at around 20 naira per share. Now, CBN wants most bank, I think the tier 1 bank to be on 500 billion recapitalization. The market again, giving people story that touches, giving good storyline around buying of shares. They will get people's money, crash it again, and start buying up from them.
Hills, I hear you.
I don't trust when it comes to. I think Nigeria seems to be a long way.
Hills.
Looking at the bank's balance sheet, is it real balance sheet?
Hills.
Even the stock exchange market, are we doing the right thing?
Hills. I agree with you. So I think I'm painting a broad brush. The Nigerian stock market today is the only asset class that is beating inflation today. That's if you look at the entire asset class in Nigeria, real estate, fixed income. Let's leave currency. Only stocks are beating inflation. What do you say to that?
What would you say to this?
I said only stocks as an index. If you take the Nigerian stock market index, only stocks, equities are beating inflation today in Nigeria. That's what I'm saying. All those banking returns, the Dangotes, the banks, are the only investment class in Nigeria as an index that is performing better than the Nigerian inflation rate. So that's a bit of a movement to inflation, right? They are performing better than inflation.
I'm struggling to hear you. I don't know if other people could hear you. Your voice it was breaking, but if I can just pick one or two things, you are saying that is the only way we can measure the index, the banking industry, and other industry. If we look at it that way, look at the power industry. We have issue of power in this country. I've not seen investment in it per se. Femi Otedola went into power, Geregun power. Now the shares of Geregun is, if I'm right, I think it's around 1,000 naira per share. If you look at his profitability story and the shares, there is a relationship. Look at Zenith Bank. They are declaring profit, but the profit is not showing in the share price. Even the industry, the FMCG that are struggling, some of their share price and Nestle is still looking good. So where's the profit? All these are not just, they are not just padding books.
Olumide, go ahead.
I'd like to talk on this. Please, 5 minutes. So first of all, I'm sorry about your perspective about the Nigerian stock market. I think you need to mute your mic. Yeah.
I'm trying to mute him. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm so sorry if you bad about the NGX. And like I've always said, that the Nigerian economy, it's growing, and you can't compare it with more efficient and advanced market. We have concerns, but the truth of the matter is that historical data have shown that doing nothing is worse than not investing. So the only option many Nigerians have is the markets. And the reality is that Nigerian banks, for at least a decade, have consistently, especially the top tier 1 banks, constantly giving investors dividend. Now you're asking why it's not reflecting. I will give you 3 reasons why. If you look at a more exciting market among Nigerian youths, the crypto market, for example, it's that bad that on Binance, which is the world's most popular crypto exchange, Nigeria just has 0.1% in trading value capture, and that was why Binance has refused to invest so much into the country, because from a business perspective, despite the fact we have population, our disposable income. So you're talking about the fact that it's not Zenith, UP, GT. They are solid businesses. These businesses are you could say that they've been some level of compliancy over the years. Nobody's saying that you are wrong, but saying that because the prices are suppressed or depressed, meaning that there's some. I think it's wrong, because first of all, they get their results are approved by the Apex Bank. You must audit your results, and when you come and you take it to investors, if there is anything caught, red line, as long as you are caught, you pay every fine, and sometimes that board might lose their position. So I think we need to also be careful about this. We see about these banks, because it's not because the Nigerian economy has issues that we don't have solid businesses. I want to ask you a question. How many Nigerians can invest? Look at Kogi, for example, where food inflation is 4%. How many Nigerians can afford to invest in $1 million? Last year, investors made 11 trillion naira. Out of that 11 trillion, there were only 100,000 accounts that were actively involved in transactions on the NGX, a country of 200 million people. You see, when you bring out data, sometimes it's always good to collate with evidence. It's not because these companies are not prosperous or efficient. It's because disposable income in Nigeria is weak. Awareness on the NGX is still low. And the past dealings over the years where some companies have went through. But the truth of the matter is that we see these things in other markets. So I think it's fair for us to look at the positive side and build on it. I think the NGX is coming up. It's going to get better. We're seeing new rules. Things are getting stricter, and you're seeing the level of sophistication. So why do we now run things that a lot of people...
we have to move on.
And the end of the story is that the most successful Nigerians, the top 50, I looked at Business Day, just read the report, top 50 most successful Nigerians, 47 of them are directly exposed to the stock market. So what is the excuse you're saying? Some people say, those people built on the stock market. Otedola bought a lot of Zenith, he bought a lot of First Bank. And as we go, he listed last year, it did 3x. This year it has done 2x. So even if I don't trust the market, we will have cut out some of your positions at some point. So people don't understand how to invest. People make excuses because of the past details, and they always think that things will go like that. I don't agree with that.
Just I think his point was, if I understand him well, he was saying that Nigerian banks are posting profits, but it does not reflect in the share pricing of the Nigerian banks on the stock market. So that he made the point that Geregu is posting profits and Geregu's share price are going up in price, but the Nigerian banks are doing the same, but doesn't see.
Zenith is heavily floated. If you look at the floating percentage of Zenith is very liquid. Geregu is highly concentrated. Otedala controls almost 2/3 of the shares. At some point, it was 96%.
Okay.
So it's very easy for you to control prices on those kind of entities. You cannot control Zenith because see, if Zenith, do you know the amount of, if you look at edges in a week, Zenith GTUB, First Bank, those are shares that are highly liquid. So it's very difficult for an entity to really control, and disposable income is weak. So he needs to, if he understands what the investment, he understands that floating also influence share price. So it's not just
Gotcha.
that
Let me make him have very, very quick response. Hills, 1 minute response, and we're going to go into exchange rate. I wanted to do exchange rate before inflation. So Hills, very, very quick 1 minute response. Go ahead, sir. Hills going once, Hills going twice, Hills going 3 times.
I want to respond to Louis. I know very soon most of the banks will come out to be rolling out their IPO again. Same way they did like 18 years back. We all put a lot of money into it. I could remember that I bought Transcorp, GT, Access. Now, if you ask me today, later on they came up with CSCS. If you ask me today, where are the shares? I can't find it. No dividend. It's part of the unclaimed dividend they are reporting year in, year out. If I'm owing the bank will trace me through my next of kin and the rest and my guarantee. They will just locate me. But now they could not locate me to give me my dividend. Nigeria Insurance was sold for IPO. The IPO came out at 5 naira per share. Immediately after they closed the deal, they crashed it to like maybe 70 kobo. Less than 2 months. We all understand this game. Those guys could come out, they'll be looking so big. It's just imaginary wealth. Taking people's wealth and turning to their own. By the time you crash the price, people will be frustrated, they'll say back to you. You know the value. Even let's just look at their headquarters on the island. The value of the property is going up every now and then, even with the inflation price, it's going up. But shares is not going up. First Bank was 38 naira at 2006. As of now, First Bank is 20 naira. And you are declaring profit. Where is the dividend? Why is the price not going up? Because
Hills, 1 minute.
My understanding is that everything should be going up. Even the share price. Even if the company is not doing well, just because your assets are doing well. You have your on your balance sheet, your asset is appreciating.
Okay, Hills.
But it's not reflecting.
Hills, I hear you. So again, Hills, do you remember the fact that a share price is the present value of future earnings? And the share price of Nigerian banks are going up. If you look at the NGX index date, it's up year to date. The NGX itself as an index is the only asset class. If you take that NGX as an index, as an asset class, is the only asset class beating inflation. I'll just give you the numbers, right? I get your sentiment that the banks should be doing better in terms of returns to consumers or investors, but the numbers do show that the returns are up for the index, for the banking index, for the NGX as a whole, and individual Nigerian banks doing very well. Olumide, since we're on the topic of money, let's go straight into the Naira. Let me give you Naira figures as at today, and I'm quoting you with the exchange rate, right, of 1,236. So again, 1,236. I'm not quoting the 1,300 or 1,400. I'm quoting 1,236. This is the exchange that I use to transfer funds, right? So in one week, this exchange is doing Naira is losing 14% in 1 week. We did this exercise 2 weeks ago. Naira was gaining about 24. So now Naira is losing 14%. In 1 month, Naira is losing the same. So it's 1 week. Naira is losing in 1 month 9%, because we still have the carryover. Sorry, Naira is gaining 9%. So we have the carryover from the month. So in 1 week, Naira has lost the 14%. In 1 month, Naira has gained 9%. In 1 year, Naira has lost 167%. If you look at over 5 years, Naira has lost 5 years figure, just popping up, 246%. What's going on with the Naira?
That's a very sensitive question, but to be honest with you, this was a very parabolic month. At some point, that was the best. When the CBN chief was talking in Washington, I recollected that Bloomberg did a story that the Naira was the best performing currency in the world, which was rightly so. Less than a fortnight, Naira is among the most performing currency. I think there are 3 things that I noticed about this Naira this month, because I'm doing a story for a British investment firm, and the first thing I noticed is that there was no correlation between the dollar index and the Naira this year. And that was really caught me unawares, because when the NGX was going, when the DXY, that's the ticker for the dollar index, was going up, the Naira too was rallying up. And when the Naira was slowing down, while the DX was slowing down, so it was disjointed. So secondly, I found out that liquidity in the space is still not that efficient. You look at the official market, it's weaker than the black market. The official market closed above 1,200, and you look at the black market, it's now around 1,280 as we speak. Lastly, I think my suspicion around FAC allocation seems to be getting thicker. Demand in Nigeria's parallel market, Cardoso has shown that with his policies and it's quite artificial. But the funny part is that when you look at the time when allocation is shared, because look at the day allocation was announced, shared within 3 days, the Naira started acting dramatic. And I was like, this cannot just be a coincidence. And before you know, the Naira lost more than 20% in 4 days. So it takes me back to the historical data. I went back as far as when Ngwende complained about the impact of FAC allocation on our currency market. I think it's a reality. I think it's low. Don't know an hypothesis. And until policymakers, then with what happened in Kogi, where Kogi is among the lowest earners in terms of revenue generation, and even FAC allocation, you can't compare what they get with what Southern the other states get. So if a state like Kogi, you can see a level of inefficiency where a former governor converts the Naira to dollar, and it pays to an American school domicile in Abuja. You could say that that was lagging because that happened years ago. Just imagine what the ruling class would. So the truth is that this has gone beyond Cardoso. The presidency has to step up with the tightening of our FX market.
So let me just put it this way, right? A currency price is based on demand and supply. So the price of the Naira, if we say the price is 1, 2, 3, say like I've quoted, this is not the real price. I quoted under. I'm not even going to the 1,300. I'm quoting 1, 2, 3, 6. This price means that if I want to buy Naira today, the Naira would appreciate. If I want to sell Naira today, the Naira will depreciate. So the price is demand and supply pushing and pulling. Before Cardoso, I think this is it's a simple issue. The Naira was at 400, it was defended, we floated, it went up to 1,000, it was approaching 1,500. Then we started to see sales from the Central Bank of Nigeria to the currency market. And those sales are supply. Once there is supply in the market, the Naira will gain value. The way you defend your currency is to sell US dollars and buy your currency, which is what the CBN did and denied that they were doing. They were selling US dollars and buying. People say, oh, but they're only selling $10 and the market is $100. You know, Olumide, that traders work with signals. If a floor has been put at 1,200, nobody's going to take a bet above 1,200 because you might get burnt there. So the CBN supplied and the Naira gained value. The CBN has cut off supply, the Naira has lost value. Is it not just as simple as that?
No, I think it's beyond that. I like what you said. The CBN was using the PCC for signals. When I listened to what Kazuso said in Washington, he said the amount of money shared across PTC was negligible, which was totally spot on. If you look at the amount of money that went to the NAFED market, was less than $1 billion. Nigeria is not that bad when it comes to the level of FX liquidity that can. So what the CBN is saying is that, see, what they've been able to use to disrupt the market is not something that should cause nightmare. The problem we're having is not interventions. No, that's not the problem. The problem we're having is that there are leaks coming out from places that, why is it that at the point, I was giving an evidence here. The average Nigerian does not have the dollars to spare to speculate our market. That was why a lot of you are upset about the government stance on the crypto market. Yes, the crypto market had reference power, but in terms of liquidity power, it was beyond what a governor controls. And you could see that latest figures have shown, latest reports have shown how easy it is for state officials to dip their hand into FAC allocation. So I think for me, my personal opinion here is that this was not about the fact that the CBN lost control of the Naira. No, it's not. It's not. I don't, because the macros have not changed.
Okay.
Some excuses are that
Olumide
floated some attractive offerings in the debt market. Maybe that's why investors, I said no.
Okay,
Olumide. That week, Kaduso stated that about $600 million came to the market. Nigeria signed 2.35 billion with World Bank. There were more micros coming in. So the perception about Nigeria's FX market was strong. So why are we not looking at the government side? What is happening?
The point is this, right? The point is really I'm trying to make is this, right? You know that invariably, it's a question of which one blinks first, demand or supply. We have fixed supply through FPI, not through oil exports. So if I'm a trader and I see Nigeria is inflowing $1 billion, where is $1 billion coming from? It's coming from FPI sales at 20%. Okay, that's the ammunition, right? I see under $1 billion coming from the Afri-Exim forward sales of crude oil. Okay, so they're going to get tops $3 billion from that. They're going to get tops $1 billion from the sale of almost securities. They're going to get another $1 billion they're negotiating from the World Bank. That's $5 billion. I see it already. Oil sales is what I don't see. If oil sales today, we have a target from the budget at 1.7 million barrels a day. We've not met it. We're at 1.2, 1.3. OPEC is 1.5. So we've not met OPEC. We've not met even the budget. As long as we're getting dollars from just FPI, World Bank, remittances, a trader can calculate all that and say, I will take a position here because eventually the CBN run out of money. They can't defend forever. This is the point. As long as, and you are alluding to it, as long as we don't get crude oil sales back up to where we are getting 1.7, 1.8, even 2. Only in 2005, Nigeria was exporting 2.2, 2.0 billion barrels of crude oil a day. Our reserves were 60 billion. The governor was Charles Soludo. Charles Soludo, Google it, he threatened people. He said, Go and sell your naira. Your dollar. People were begging because the man had 60 billion to deploy. 60 billion. 2007, 2008, the world had a recession. Oil prices crashed. Everybody suffered. The Nigerian naira did not crash. The Nigerian naira was up because of 60 billion. So it goes back to the point that
I agree with you.
In the end, it's down to supply. It's supply.
Yes, but I'm not denying the fact that I'm trying to tell you that the sudden change in the naira is beyond these narratives are not something that is built over time. We know that we have structural issues, but look at the CBN has been able to manage the situation to a level. What's changed? Why is it that when there is immense liquidity in the system, the naira starts misbehaving in the FX market? We need to ask questions. Some people said, "Oh, is this the first time fact allocation was being shared?" When we were processing fixed exchange rate system, it was not showing. But this kind of market mechanism exposes our inefficiency.
It wasn't showing. It was
true that yes, if we had 2 million barrels a day, maybe the CBN might not have been complaining about the impact of speculation with by the fact allocation. But the reality is that we don't have those figures, Carlo. We don't have those figures.
Gotcha.
And we cannot have those figures in weeks. But we can address leakages with policies. That's why I'm more worried. While we are attacking things that are not easier to solve, all things we've been battling all that for many years. We've not been able to even optimize production to 1.7, 1.8, including condensate. So my fear here is, why I agree with you that supply is a problem, why is the inefficiency of governance hitting on our FX market?
Gotcha. So we're going to get guys into hop in and speak, but what's your trend? I'm not asking for a naira dollar number for exchange. No, that would be impossible. But what's your view of the trend of the naira in the next quarter? Just a little about the quarter. Do you see it stabilizing? Do you see it weakening? Do you see it strengthening? Just maybe the quarter in terms of the trend. It doesn't have to be one article specific naira, but the trend.
I try not to be a prophet, so before I read the markets, I looked at Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Renaissance Capital, and different outlooks. So my outlook is this: as long as the naira doesn't break below, that means depreciates to 1,500. I think before June, we might see the naira region between 1,000 to 1,200. As long as the naira doesn't break 1,005, because that 1,005, the reason why I said 1,005 is that it's going to wake that downtrend again. And if you look at, I'm using the NLT and Olympia bands, those are technical indicators to see the naira's levels. But if the naira appreciating from 1,004 to 1,218 in a span of 3-4 days, it tells me pretty much that we might not see that February 24 low, at least in the second quarter. That's my own perception.
Gotcha. That's a very, very bold perception of Lumide. That naira will strengthen in next quarter broadly. That's what your broad.
No, I didn't say. I gave my conditions, Carlos, to be on the safe side because I'm very careful here. So I said that as long as the naira maintains below the 1,005 mark, definitely it means that things will not go as bad as it was in February 24. And I gave parameters why I said so. So I think as long as those numbers are met, but if the naira breaks above 1.5, I think might be let loose again.
And again, just a quick point to add in. I looked at the U.S. markets. The U.S. banks are offering 4.25, 4.16. There's a bank in America offering 4.26% APY, right? No minimum deposit. You can take the money anytime you like. Dollar return. So a Nigerian in America, without risk, what I mean, hear my words, risk-free, guaranteed by the federal government of America, below $250,000, no risk. You get 5.25% APY. Not many banks, many. But Stanbic is in Nigeria. It's in Nigeria. But they're in Nigeria. This is in the US, guaranteed. So the point I'm getting is that a Nigerian in America can make inflation in America is let's say it's 3%. So you're making 2% risk-free, no risk, no worry. If you invest with your wife, that's 500,000 guaranteed by the government of America. You go to a bank, you put $10,000 in that bank, they give you 5.25 guaranteed by the government of America, absolutely risk-free. That's what Nigeria is competing with. Nigeria is competing with the US, the United States of America, to attract dollars. In the past, it was never like this. In the past, Nigeria would do 8% APY on Euro bonds, and America is doing 0 or 1% on Euro bonds. So the American will say, wow, Nigeria is risky, but I can make 8%. Even if Nigeria does this or does that, I'm making 8%, 7% from Nigeria. He takes the plunge. He does 7%, he does 8%, he gains in Nigeria. But today, that investor is saying, wow, Nigeria is doing 7%, 8%, but America is doing 5.25. Wow, it's just 2% risk premium. I don't think it's enough for me. I will stay in America and earn 5.25, which means not just Nigeria. I did a tweet earlier. If you go on my tweet, I showed all of Asia. All of Asia is suffering from the strong dollar. So which means that every investor in Singapore, in Lagos, in Nairobi, in Dubai is suffering from the strong dollar, because investors can go to the strong dollar 5.25. Remember, when there's crisis in the world, we go to the dollar. The law of economics says that if something is risk-free, it should not pay you any interest because it's risk-free. But America is turning economics on its head by saying, not only are we going to offer you risk-free, we are going to pay you 5.25.
Yeah, but can I come in here? You see, Nigerians in diaspora and Nigerian banks, I think they've been able to take advantage of that. That's why I highlighted that, for example. So look at an example for Stanbic, Standard Chartered, UBA, they've understood the fact that, well, it's very difficult for us to really get in diaspora to invest in NGX. If you look at Stanbic's latest results, look at their dollar holding. I agree with you that yes, it's become, but Nigerians have strong affiliations with their institutions. Forget Twitter, Sarah and things like that, because me, I'm looking at the numbers and I'm looking at the growth. How come Stanbic is bringing dollar funds out of? How come Standard is growing immensely? So yes, you could argue that some people are skeptic, and that's why I'm really worried about the diaspora fund, because I don't see how, like you said, I don't see what interest to make more attractive when a Stanbic and UB is giving 7.5 and a US bank is giving 5%. It means that you have to do something like 10 or 2, which is almost going to be very, very tough. So yeah, I agree with you on that aspect. Nigerians also have an affinity with their banks, dollar exposure. I just wanted to highlight that, Carlo. And the figures, I'm sure that.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, good point. Yeah. All right. So let's have some guys in. Kenneth, hi. You want to have this word? Kenneth, go ahead, please. Kenneth, can you hear me? Okay, let's get Ola. If I can get Olamilekun Ezekiel. Mr. Ezekiel, are you there? Oh, hold up, guys.
Hello, I have a question for Olumi.
Please go ahead.
So the question I have is, it's been speculated that the dollar that the central bank sells to the what's it called the BDCs, that there is always a time lag between that announcement of sell of dollar to the BDCs and when the BDCs get get dividend for the Naira equivalent and they could get the dollar. Sometimes I hear that sometimes it's up to like a week. So what impact does that have that a central bank will make an announcement and maybe 4 or 5 days down the line, actions have not been taken. So what impact does that make, in terms of the speculators? That's number one question. You can answer now.
So I think you are saying when the CBN announces its sale to BDCs, it doesn't happen immediately. It has a lag time.
It doesn't happen. There's always a time, like a lag time.
Okay.
Sometimes a week before that exchange happens. So I'm looking at it. What impact does it have on speculation?
So, to be honest with you, I align with your question, the fact that it's not immediate. But you see, if you look at the patterns, historical patterns, because price is always evidence here. Anytime the CBN gives a quote, the Naira definitely boosts in confidence. So it's just a signal to the market that
correct.
This is the value of the Naira. This is where they are. So I think so it's a perception power here, not really about liquidity here. Because you look at what Carlos said, the influence in that market is negligible.
Correct. I hope you get the point. They say when you're a trader, if you're a trader today and you hear that the Federal is thinking about raising or lowering interest rates, it affects how you trade. They don't have to do anything. Just if you hear a rule that they are thinking about it, it affects how you trade. When the Central Bank of Nigeria says or publishes that it's selling dollars to the BDCs at, say, $10, it affects how you trade. It means that if it is $10 they're going to sell to them, you will be careful about making bets above $10 because that's the point that the CBN is saying we are going to intervene. The CBN is telling the market that this is our intervention point here, this is our support point here, this is our resistance point here. So traders then calibrate that and then trade on their own. But what happened that you can call the central bank's bluff? There's a guy called George Soros. When George Soros was trading against the Bank of England, the Bank of England was buying pounds to make the pound stronger, and George Soros was selling the pounds to make the pound weaker. And it was a game of reserves. Who had more reserves? And this guy, an individual with support from leverage, was able to break the Bank of England and cause the Bank of England to devalue. That's exactly what's happening in the market. The central bank was buying, he was selling, and in the end, the market says, we called the bluff of the Bank of England, and we're going to go with Soros. And Soros broke the Bank of England, made personally $1 billion profit. So it's all about signals, it's all about strength, it's all about how the market perceives you. The point is that in England, they know exactly where the Bank of England's reserves were coming from. Same as Nigeria. We know where the reserves are going to come from. It's crude oil sales, it's remittances, it's FPI, FDI, it's borrowings. So if you sit down, this is what JP Morgan are doing, JP Morgan Goldman Sachs are doing, they will look at the reserves and say, we think they will get this money coming in. If money comes to Nigeria today, the Naira will rise up. If there's no money coming, the Naira will fall. So if you are a trader, arbitrage and make money, that's the point. So the way Nigeria wins is to sell more crude oil. If Nigeria sells more crude oil, that is flow coming in. If tomorrow, let me just tell everyone in this space, if you wake up tomorrow and you hear that Nigeria has exported 1.7 million barrels of crude oil a day to US, just go and sell your dollar. Because the Naira is going to gain value. That's your signal. When people always ask, should I buy or sell? You're asking the wrong question. Look at the crude oil exports of Nigeria. Once you see the crude oil export of Nigeria going up, that's your signal that the Naira is going to gain value. It's not what CBN does or does not do. CBN governor is buying time for the NNPC to get to work. The NNPC ultimately and the security services are ultimately going to be responsible for the strength of the Naira. It's not CBN, it's NNPC. Crude oil sales. Someone's going to say, why not cocoa? Cocoa is also crude oil. No. Crude oil is 89% of Nigeria's forex earnings. 89. So all the cocoa, soybeans, everything else is the remaining one. 89%. So we're going to focus like a hawk on crude oil. For now, if you can grow more cocoa in 2 years, fine. Cocoa is $10,000 per ton. So it's an opportunity there, but we're not doing enough. So that's where it is. So if you're not going to speak, I'm going to take you off Google.
So Carlo, I have a second question. question.
Oxley, real quick, because I want to get others. Yeah, go ahead. Real quick,
Okay,
Oxley.
so I'm still asking of him. A lot of things has. So what I'm processing in my head is a couple of few weeks ago, even almost as recently, the central bank floated a lot of government security, fixed income instrument, that is treasury bills and the bonds, euro bonds, and even the dollar bonds, dollar bills, and all of that. Now, people are flooding money into this economy in terms of short-term investors that's floating money and converted them to naira to be able to, invest in those 364 days, 180 days, or 182 days instruments. Now, I'm thinking, at maturity, what do you think that the impact will be on our current FX market? At maturity, those in the next, so those floatings happened in March, some happened this April. So I'm looking at August this year, and maybe sometime in February next year. What do you think that is going to happen to our FX market at maturities of those series of instruments that have been sold at? Most of them are oversubscribed. Anyways.
Yeah, very good question. So definitely there will be short-term impact. But if you look at the CBN with food inflation going out of hand and headline inflation still very high, it means that the rates will definitely remain elevated. So we're going to see likely more attractive securities coming out. But the big elephant in the room, I think a lot of people is the US Fed. This week, on when the US Fed is going to make their interest rate decision, and with what is happening in Japan and South Korea, it tells you that Nigeria is also not immune, because the Japanese yen going out of hand. You see the South Korean won also going out of hand. So I think what my guess is what the CBN will be looking at is how the US Fed reacts with the sticky inflation rates in the United States. If we see a quite dovish response, I think it gives the Naira and the CBN much more time to play their conventional tools in the market. But if we see a quite hawkish US Fed, just like Okalu has said, that the attraction in their market, then the Naira might also face a strong battle ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the point is that
married with the interest rates that those instruments are on, some of them were quoted as much as 22%.
Oxley, the point is simple now, that next year, even if you take away those instruments, Eurobonds are due next year, 1 billion, Eurobonds, 1 billion. The point is going back to this, we've got to earn more from crude oil because we have dollar exposures that are going to come through from next year. That's the summary of all we're saying. From next year, 2025, Eurobonds are due. The FP and CBN has borrowed are going to be due next year. There's going to be a swap arrangement in place to swap those dollars they've brought in back from Naira to dollars and take out to Nigeria. So the long and short is we've got to get dollar revenues in. And dollar revenues that are going to come in are going to come from crude oil exports. Again, there are 89% of exports. Can we grow cocoa? Yes. But you have to grow cocoa, mature it, harvest it, and export it. Can you do so in 12 months? There is no agricultural output today that you can basically go in today and grow 100% and export 100% by next year. It's not possible. Remember, we have the issues with insecurity, but cocoa is in the south of Nigeria. But the point is that if you look at the report from the Nigerian Meteorological Services, they said floods are going to kill cocoa plants in Nigeria. It's out there. Nigerian Meteorological Services released the report that floods would affect cocoa exports. What's Nigeria's number one export outside crude oil? Is sesame seeds. That's the number one export. What's the number two export? Is cocoa. We're not making money from solid minerals. The total amount of money Nigeria makes from solid minerals is not up to 1 trillion. Naira is not up to 500 billion. It's not up to. Agriculture is not giving you 1 trillion. This diversification is just noise. We are not diversified anywhere. We're an oil and gas economy. Don't take my word for it. Pull up the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics Trade Report. Look at the export that Nigeria does. You will see listed there crude oil, about 10 trillion. You see agriculture, about 1 trillion. So you have to say, if you want to export quickly in 12 months, you've got to fix the insecurity in Niger Delta to allow the oil to be pumped. Now, NNPC has said that we are falling in output because of the Trans-Saharan, the Trans-Nigeria pipeline. There are issues there. So if you simply fix the Trans-Nigerian pipeline, you pump out more crude oil in Nigeria. It's not like cocoa where you have to go plant cocoa, harvest the cocoa, dry it, package it, export it. It takes more time. But with the crude oil, turn the tap, fix the insecurity, turn the tap. Last year, NNPC guys said 700,000 barrels were shot in because of theft and inefficiencies. So if you get 700,000 barrels crude from Nigeria back on the market, Naira gains. You can pay your debt. Your Naira will rise from 1,500 to 800 Naira a dollar. That's how you get the Naira up. Crude oil sales. It's not me saying so. The data is saying so. Daniel, let me get you in here. Daniel, do you have a point? Daniel. Ugo. Okay, Olamileku Ezekiel, you want to speak? Okay, this guy's not speaking. Let's get Mr. Anayo Anis. Anayo, please go ahead. Anayo, go ahead.
Greetings to you. I've been following your talk since, and it's quite impressive and educative. So, oil is our main export that generates dollar for Nigeria. But why is that there's been a lot of insecurity and a lot of problems concerning the oil? Like you see what happened earlier to see soldiers being built. This is Tompolo, it's not Tompolo. Oil is our main revenue, but why are you playing child's play with it? And the Naira is falling. Even for, let's say, diversification, which is not quite true, or being let diversify, which is going to increase the dollar. Looking at this, he said cocoa is about, agriculture about 1 trillion or 1 billion. But I think we should also finish the goods. For example, how Malaysia came to the south of Nigeria, take the palm oil and convert it to finished goods. I think we should stop exporting the raw material and also look at how we can export these materials into a finished product. And then export then the land of export chocolate and chocolate bars. Nigerians, what you have is you have a production economy. We should start producing in not just, even though it's going to be less, but we should also if you have from cocoa, if you have from cassava, you have from groundnut, you can produce peanut butter. You have to produce a finished product. You can also produce
yeah, but Oga, this produce peanut butter, cocoa butter. It's audio. We've been saying this for 25 years. Let's diversify the economy. I'm giving you the reality today. It is audio. We've done nothing. 89% crude oil and gas. That's Nigeria's economy for you. Let me even give you a better data point. Nigerian economy grew last quarter. GDP grew. You know why it grew? Because oil GDP grew. First time in about 18 months. Thank you, Mr. Tinubu. He grew oil GDP. So that's why GDP grew. Let me talk to you guys today about the Nigerian budget. Let me talk about the Nigerian budget. The Nigerian 2024 budget. You know what they did? They simply went to crude oil and increased the revenues that they said they will get from crude oil. And based on that increase in crude oil revenues, they said they have a budget, the largest budget in Nigeria's history. They're going to spend money. The 2024 budget is based on a monumental increase in crude oil revenues. Go and look at it. What that means is this. So because they're going to get these supposed revenues from crude oil, they also increased the borrowings that are going to do from the markets. So look at what I'm saying. They increased the revenues they said they will get from crude oil to enable them borrow massive amounts from the markets because revenues are going to cover the borrowing. But what we have right now is that there are no revenues coming from crude oil. January, February, March 2024, crude oil output has been down. That's why your naira is falling. So go back to 2024 budget. You now have a budget that we're almost where we now on the budget. We now have no crude oil revenues, but we have the borrowings kicking in already. We are borrowing kicking in already. Look at the DMO. You see every time you go, and just borrowing $2 billion for the World Bank, borrowing from the market, FPI. That's all borrowing, but the crude oil is not going up. So let's leave this. Let's export crude, cocoa paste. There is no cocoa to be exported. We've been here for 25 years. The data shows there are no non-oil exports. It's 89% crude. Look at the data. So the question is, we have to survive today before we survive tomorrow. So today, the way you survive is to increase crude oil exports. Then, in the medium to long term, you go back and you fix the crash crop exports. That's what we need to do. But no, there is no farmer that can increase cocoa output in 12 months now.
That's true.
Yeah, but I have a.
Why is oil output? Why is it reducing? Why is oil output reducing?
Because the transnational pipeline is down. There's insecurity and theft in the Delta. That's why it's reducing.
Well, can I have a different strategy here? Because usually, I like, in fact, I feel that it's harder to increase, but it's much easier to reduce. So, yes, we have supply issues, but look at the way we've managed our resources so far. Even with the limited resources we have, look at the level of leakages.
Sure.
Why don't we look at, because this project alone, there are a lot of leaks. You see some ministries that don't have business in building bridges. You see project padding or things like that. And you also see with the new EFCC report on grants and other frivolity across our political space. It gives me a lot of concern because, see, even if we increase to 200, I agree with you that crude oil, it's a normal, but I'm looking at emergency solutions. What solutions can really make a difference? If you are the president, will you focus on amplifying production or cutting unnecessary costs?
Wow, Olumide, that's a good question.
It's been 1 year since the
Olumide, that's a
almost 1 year.
Olumide, great question.
We have a cabinet that is as so we have some ministries that is as dormant as the word dormant itself. Look at the marine ministry, for example. What are they doing there? Look at coal industry. Look at the Ministry of Agriculture. You see officials on Twitter that work. I've not seen it in. I've covered a lot of markets. I've not seen it where a government official has the audacity to be trolling the media and trolling people on social media. You see, so the question here is that it's not even just oil. The way the system is being run and managed is a worry for a lot of technocrats. And that's why many technocrats are just on the sidelines and they have refused to intervene. Because the truth of the matter is that when the political system does not make the economy conducive, technocrats will not work. So, I agree with you that we have to fix crude oil. But
you raise a good question that should we cut costs or should we end revenues? If you know me on Twitter, I always say this, that Nigeria has a spending problem. I'm making a point by making that statement. But the fact is this, right? You've got to earn revenues. Nigeria has got to bring in the revenues they said they will bring in. I'm not asking to earn more. I'm saying in the budget, Nigeria says that they would earn 1.7 million barrels output revenue. OPEC says no, earn 1.5 million barrel export revenues. We're at 1.2, 1.3. Yes, it's because a pipeline has broken. But I'm tying it to the budget. The budget says we are borrowing because we're going to export 1.7. The borrowing has already started, but the revenues are not going on. So eventually, it's like a snowball rolling down the hill. That when we eventually get this at 1.7 billion going, we'd have already borrowed that revenues. We should cut costs. Yes, we've seen a Kogi State governor alleged to have spent $840,000 stolen to pay for school fees. This is from one state governor. The The National Assembly says that they cannot cut even one kobo from their budget. All this money they are spending is coming from the budget. All the money they are spending comes from the budget. They can't cut anything. The average Nigerian is paying more for fuel, for food, for dollars, for power, for VAT. The average Nigerian, his income has gone up. If he's fixed at 35,000. How is an average Nigerian surviving? How? I don't get it.
And that's why a lot of people are irritated. You call when we're in Nigeria, you could see the stress on faces.
Everybody.
I was scared because when I saw, I was like, this is not normal, because that's why when you talk to, you say normal things, they get easily irritated. And I think.
Of course, Olumide. Of course.
Of course. How do you explain someone that earns a stagnant and low amount of income? He has to battle high food inflation. He has to battle the core essentials of life. And on the opposite side, he's seeing frivolity and extravagant spending on the ruling class. And the media is not also playing the part of being the last resort of the common man.
Nigerians are angry. So people go on Twitter and they push the anger on anyone that they feel that is not that is doing better than them or is not addressing what they feel is the problem. If you are angry and someone tells you it is because of this person that is that's causing you to feel bad, you would attack that person. So many young people on Twitter don't understand the economics, don't understand the linkages between the government spending and how poor or rich they are. We celebrate roads. So when a governor builds a road, we celebrate it. But it's our tax money building that road. So that Kogi State governor, let's assume this governor, the present guy, did not win the election and a new guy had come and taken that same $840,000 to build the road in Kogi. They would have celebrated him. But that $840,000 has gone to an American school. Not in Kogi, to an American school. So the no roads are being built. So we're at the lowest basis in Nigeria. Very, very low. When we talk economics, and we're not even going far, we don't do trading on this forum. We're bringing it very, 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 very low. We are saying this very, very simple thing. Nigeria has two main problems. Number one is inflation. Number two is the Naira exchange rate. And those two things, you can fix it in 60 days. I said it before elections. I've said it after then. Look at Argentina. I posted Argentina. Now, everyone is attacking Argentina. As if they know Nigeria. The man has gone to Argentina. Look at what he's doing. But you say Nigeria, they will start attacking Argentina because you have posted Argentina. They will start attacking Argentina to make themselves happy. Why? Michael, your hand is up. Michael, please go ahead. Michael, go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to. I have a quick question to ask, and it's against the backdrop that I've always believed that we as a people, we do not have a revenue generating problem, so to speak. What we have is a spending problem.
Well said.
We do not have a structured spending problem that would ensure that across all board, every strata of government is prudent in its spending. And the oil that we so much rely on, the crude oil, it has become a burden on the country. Aside the fact that it has been used as a credit facility, Nigerians will now even pay more for us to enjoy in the name of subsidy. You will recall that during Buhari's regime, there was a time at some point he said he had removed subsidy. At some point he said he was paying on the recovery. At some point he said subsidy has returned. So there's a lot of secrecy in that sector. I'm not going to speak much on that. I'm looking at if we can tilt more towards our natural resources. This is also an ungoverned, in quote, ungoverned space where a lot of private individuals come into that sector, make a lot of money, export some of these natural resources without paying a dime to the government, without paying a dime to the host community, without ensuring that we are also part of the process. If the government can look or tilt towards in the immediate, I would have suggested agriculture, cocoa, for instance, but that would take about 20, 30 years for that industry to come forward. So, Mr. Kalu, I'm just asking, is it possible that the government look towards natural resources since we have them readily available?
My brother, Michael, let me say what I'm telling you again. Gold, lithium, iron ore, take all the natural resources in Nigeria today. I'm telling you that the export earnings from those are not up to 1 trillion. This is in Naira. I'm not saying we can't earn 100 trillion. I am saying currently we are not earning that because the administration over years, not sustainable, over years has not invested in raw materials exports. We haven't. So we can start today, but you can't start today because we have dollar revenues due to next year. So we have to focus on what can give us revenues today. Then we can then focus on solid minerals for tomorrow. You get what I'm saying? Like there is no mineral you will quote that we don't have in Nigeria. None. Silica, iron ore, limestone, quote anyone. But we've not developed it. And we can't develop it today because we have a clock ticking till next year to start to pay down most of these dollar revenues that we've borrowed. So I completely, you are saying the same thing George Gentleman was saying. Let's invest in this. There's no time. Go ahead and invest. No one has stopped anyone. There's gold in Osun State. Don't look at, there's a company in Osun State doing major work there, exporting gold, bringing out gold in Osun. But I will tell you for free that mining in Nigeria is the most dangerous activity you can engage in. The northeast in Nigeria today, that is what we call bandits, is a cover for people that are after the natural resources in the northeast. So they use banditry to scare away villagers, and then they go in there and mine. That's what's happening in the northeast. The banditry is a cover for guys that are exporting solid minerals. So Michael, I hear you, but let's move on. We don't have the time to mine gold. That's what I'm telling you. It's easier to turn the pipe, pump out crude oil, then face gold in 24 months, 36 months. But right now, we need what can give us dollars today. Remittances, FPI, oil exports. That's what can give us revenues today. I'm not saying it's not gold will not give us, but right now, makes sense?
What you're saying makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense, but we have to create two terms of plans: the long-term plan and the short-term plan.
No one has stopped us doing that. No one has stopped us doing that. No one has said we shouldn't do plans. No one has. I'm not against that.
This is just let me arrive to where I'm coming from, because the problem is we have all these plans. Nigeria is so very wonderful in creating plans, creating ideas, bringing up ideas, paper presentation or proper presentations, which are not implemented anywhere. And then we have this well-worn kind of politics in Nigeria. We know what is good to do. Right now, we have put ourselves in a dire condition where we have to, act within some months to settle what we spoiled ourselves. How can we be talking about this kind of thing when somebody knows that? Okay, let me go back to you pointed something about cocoa. For the past 25 years, we've been talking about cocoa. For the past 30 years, we've been talking about minerals. And somehow in the same Nigeria, some people are mining minerals, taking them without paying tax for anybody.
Yes,
but
what's your point, Ozzy? What's your point, Ozzy?
So the point is, these things we are saying, it cannot be achieved with this set of politicians in power. What they do is they borrow to spend in their pockets. Those things are not possible. I'm looking at Nigeria from a vantage point of a country going into self-destruct. Because these guys in government, they don't even care about all these things you are saying. I listen to most of these things, and I feel happy that there are people who care about, the betterment of Nigeria. Those werewolves that come to Twitter, all these Twitter platforms to insult people, they don't
itself. What they hear is about, okay, if there is an argument going on back and forth with you and somebody on Twitter, and when I listen to, the hard facts, modeled on facts he brings up to defend what he knows is real. I mean, somebody in his right senses who said, you are working under a ministry, and that ministry has not said anything about how, and this is one of the foundational ministries that can raise Nigeria up. And you've not said anything about it, and all of a sudden you come to Twitter, you call each one another, that kind of werewolf. How do we get ourselves out of this?
Ozzy.
Short-term plans and the long-term plans. You said about the long-term plans. The short-term plans that we are talking about now is about oil. Oil, where, like you said, insecurity is not addressed. And in fact, if you tell me, I would say the insecurity we have is funded. And there's so many of our allies and so many of our rich people are among those who milk the country through that oil sector. They have oil wells. They go there, they steal oil, and they know that they steal crude oil, and then nobody's talking about it. And then at the first level,
okay, Ozzy, round up, Ozzy.
The thing is, Nigeria can get better, but with what I'm seeing, it is heading to a self-destruct. Okay. Because if you talk about oil as a short-term solution, who will account for insecurity? Who will make the oil multiplying the oil produce easy? Who will make it easy? In the same country we live.
Okay.
These are the things we need to talk about.
All right, cool. So, I mean, guys, look at the data. It's not Carlos data. Look at the data. It's just maths. I'm giving you maths. I'm not.
The data is there.
Ozzy, hold on. Ozzy, hold on. It's just maths. All I'm saying is this, right? You have a short term, you have a long term. Your dollar today is falling today, not tomorrow. It's falling today. The naira is falling today. So you have to have a plan for today, not for tomorrow. For today. Today, as it stands, 89% of your crude, of your forex comes from one source, oil and gas export. Mathematics says if I increase that 89% by even 1%, I earn more than if I go and increase the one that's giving me 1% by 100%. So by mathematics, what I'm saying is go to your largest contributor and increase the output there from 89% to even 90% in the short term. Not why? Because it's even easier to do. They've said that the transnational pipeline is shut in. So fix that pipeline and you get crude oil. If you take seedlings today, and you plant cocoa or you import fertilizer, you can't double the output of cocoa in 12 months. It's not possible. You can't double the output of bitumen, of gold, or whatever in 12 months. So I'm not arguing that you should not plant cocoa or you should not plant rubber or groundnut. I am saying right now, for the next 12 months, your short-term plan to ease the demand of the naira, to boost your forex revenues, has to go through crude oil. It's not an argument. The data is there. Once you get your short term out of the way, you go back and you face your cocoa, your maize, your bitumen. You develop your solid minerals for the medium to long term. That's what we're saying. There's no argument here, right?
Yeah,
short term, medium term.
Now short term. The short term for me is efficiency in our system.
True, I agree with you.
You look at productivity and consumption rates. It's not something that we really worry the CPN to really clamp on because consumption is low, production is low. So interference is much easier. A lot of Nigerians are hungry, Kalu. And the reality is that it scares me because I was doing a report on how inflation affected Asian countries back from the 70s to the 90s. And alone, we're already seeing a symptom of it. Because you see, this insecurity we are talking about, kidnapping, robbery, and things like that. It might worsen if we don't really address core issues. So I think for me, what the president really needs to focus on is reduce streamline his objective: education, health, agriculture. And you look at basic education, for example. You look at the performance of each region. Apart from the southeast, it has been woeful. It has been horrible. Then look at food. Because you see, the average man, I was talking to some agricultural extension officers that how difficult is it for us to improve production in Nigeria? They said the problem is there's no will and underinvestment. Look at the budget. Yes, it's the state that handles agriculture, but they are worse. Federal government budget on agriculture is 350 billion naira. That's about less than $200 million for a country of 200 million people. Data for detention officers.
Agriculture.
Nigeria, for example, a governor like somebody, for example, drives a $200,000 car, minimum $200,000 minimum car. Now, if you look at every local government in Lagos is the richest state in Nigeria. Every local government in Nigeria, for example, you really find tractors like you are looking for gold or Bitcoin. So the truth of the matter is that the sector is underinvested. So yes, I agree. When you say we should pump crude oil, but Nigerians are hungry as we speak. That's why they get angrier and it gets much more terrible.
Only we're not asking Nigerians.
Like the worst has gotten over. If you look at the worst, for me in the FX market, that February, before it comes back again, it will take. I think Kadusco has covered that part a bit. I think to be fair, has covered that part a bit. He has created some shocks that it will take a miracle for that to break above 2,000 very soon. It will take something very terrible very soon. So the core thing is that how do we address core issues that is making a lot of Nigerians resting? We need to talk about those things. Because the matter is that me and you, yes, we seem to be insured, we seem to have exposure in different things and things like that. But the average Nigerians doesn't. And that's why they can't invest. And that's why the bank stock is still at that level. That's why the fact they are making heavy profit. Because the stock is heavily floated. Because when disposable income is weak, who will now invest? So we need to really address those core issues. And that's why I feel like we need to be focusing more on food inflation. Food inflation at 44% is wickedness. It's wickedness, Carlo. And data show that it's not insecurity that is the problem. Bruno, there's no people died in Zamfara more than anything in Nigeria due to insecurity. Food inflation is not 44% in Zamfara. It's not 40% in Bruno. Why is it 44 in Kogi? Why is it over 40 in Kwara? Why is it over 40 in River State? These are questions we need to ask. And you see, the future of capital from state to local government is also despicable, very terrible. Many of these local governments are not functioning. They're not functioning. Basic health, horrible. Life expectancy. Every Nigerian, once you live above 50, they are done more than the majority. That is terrible, Carlo. So these are things that I'm more bothered about than the FX and.
Gotcha, but a long time ago we said that Nigeria should import food. When we said this, the food inflation was about 18%. We said import food. Why? For 0 to 90 days, do a short-term limited import of food, because food is what drives inflation. So if you fight food inflation, you fought inflation, you reduce the interest rates in Lagos. Let me see what I'm saying. If there's cheaper food, banks borrow, SMEs borrow cheaper. That's what I'm saying. So if you import food to Nigeria, in the short term, you bring down food inflation, then you can allow your economy to recover. Why is it even more important? Because the insecurity is what's driving food and inflation in Nigeria. Inflation is not driven by monetary in Nigeria, it's driven by food. So even if CBN takes interest rates to 0, it's not going to solve inflation in Nigeria, because food is not correlated. The food is not correlated to inflation. It's caused by insecurity in the food growing areas, not by the monetary expansion alone. So if you say we're going to import food for 90 days, food comes in, Nigerians get a salary increase. Every Nigerian gets a salary increase because now instead of buying a bag of rice for 50,000, you buy it for 10,000 naira. So Nigerians can eat, our salaries can go longer for 90 days. Then you do medium term. We're going to go after the bandits and the insecurity in the food growing areas. Then long term time, we're going to go after increasing agricultural yields. The same thing we're saying. You can't increase agricultural yields in 12 months. The last Minister of Agriculture, Additional, the beautiful Mr. Additional, go and look for his video, guys, on how he took Nigeria to dry season farming. Go and watch that video. The man said there was going to be floods in Nigeria. He got a team together. They used satellite mapping, found out where there was going to be floods, and then created a plan to convert those floodplains to grow rice. So they used a tragedy and converted that tragedy into an opportunity to grow rice during the dry season in Nigeria. So he said after the flood receded, Nigeria had a bumper harvest in rice, and the floods actually then brought more increase in rice output in Nigeria. And that's where we started this dry season farming in Nigeria from Additional, using data, satellites, pictorial evidence to grow food. That's a Minister of Agriculture. That's a minister of, we said when they went to the president asked him, how do we do it? He had his numbers. We do this, we do this, we do this. Planned, stated. That's how we avoided food insecurity under his watch. A guy that knows his onions, literally. Now, I challenge people every Twitter space. Name the Minister of Agriculture without Googling. You can't. You can't. The only time you hear them is when they want to buy fertilizer. That's when you hear the Minister of Agriculture, when they want to buy fertilizer. Agriculture Ministry is the most important ministry in Nigeria, not even NPC, because food is what drives inflation. But then you say Ministry of Agriculture to import fertilizer. That's where we at the level we put ourselves. Compare from Additional to what we have right now. I don't know the man. I'm not attacking him. I apologize if you think I'm attacking you. But let your output speak for you, sir. Let your output speak for you. Where are we on dry season farming of rice in Nigeria? Where are we on food output in Nigeria? Where are we on tomato? Where are we on tomato import in Nigeria? Where are we? Where are we? We have the largest rice mill in Nigeria. Largest in Nigeria. We don't have rice, cheap rice. We have the largest tomato processing plant in Nigeria. We don't have cheap tomato. Everything in Nigeria is largest, but there's no food in Nigeria. Lack of coordination of these basic things. Additional to what we have right now. Come on, people. We can do better. Obi, you got the floor. Obi now. Let us speak. Let us speak.
Sorry.
Let us speak. Let us speak.
Now because I live in Asia. It's already
no worries. Thanks.
Thank you for. I enjoyed the show.
Thank you, sir. Eze, please go ahead. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
I only have just one question about our oil output and the oil revenue. Can the sales of oil sustain all these debts, all these mammoth debts that we have?
The answer is yes. If we sell enough crude oil, we can service our debts. That's the direct answer, yes. I'm not saying we should. I'm not saying it's a good policy. But if we are pumping at the crude oil levels that were at 1.7, 1.8, yes, we can service our debts, yes.
So all we need now is to increase the crude oil sales.
That would help our budget, that would help our deficit, that would help our borrowing, it would help the naira, it would help production, it would help consumption, yes.
Okay. Thank you for the clarity.
You're welcome. Anambra First Son, please go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, now I'm just looking at Nigeria. You have the view that in the short term, if we're looking at Nigeria today, what can we do? Let's increase production of crude oil. In another vein, I don't know, maybe there's a lot of restriction to this. I'm looking at it. Can't we put value into the crude oil? This is the cash cow that we have. This is the only thing that we have. These are 89% of revenue. Can people value to it? Like, I don't know if Dangote refinery is going to work and it's going to work fine. I know it's be going through the rapid period, and I know some other refinery are coming in. If everything that's civilized, all the refinery that is being built and the one that are coming up with the one with federal government, can we come out of the cartel? I don't know. Maybe we have restrictions coming out
for
of the
what
cartel.
now? Why don't you come out? Why don't you come out?
What do you say?
Why do you want to come out?
Then we put value to our crude oil.
How?
We shouldn't be selling crude oil. We should be refining it and selling it as refined products.
OPEC has
Even
no.
if we are secondly-
OPEC has no whatever with that now. OPEC has not stopped you from refining your crude oil. It's not OPEC's fault that you're not refining.
I think we have certain allocation that we need to contribute to the cartel.
No.
This year is around 1.5 million.
No. That's not an allocation. That just means that you cannot export more than 1.5 so that they keep the prices high. OPEC wants to keep the prices high, which benefits Nigeria. So they're telling Nigeria, you cannot export more than 1.5, but they don't tell you what you can use internally in your country. So if let's say we had 3 million barrels crude oil in Nigeria, OPEC is saying you can't export more than 1.5. Beautiful. You convert the other 1.7 or so to local output. You have cheap oil, you refine locally, and you export polyethylene, urea. That's what you do. OPEC is not stopping you from doing that.
Okay, I was thinking that total production for the country has to align. I never knew that we could produce, we only contribute to the cartel that
oil exports.
The excess can be used within the country.
Correct,
so
oil exports, yeah.
If we are looking at Nigeria today, we must give it to Cardoso. Result may not be coming out. Result may be going up and down, maybe going swinging like a pendulum. But one thing that is sure of him is that he's doing something. It may not be working out, and it may be working out. In the other sector that holds the economy, which is NNPC, I don't know what is happening there. Last administration and this present administration, there's been feeling of that. I do not expect such people to still be in power. If you ask me, the MD or GMD of NNPC, Mele Kyari, ought to have been sacked or asked to resign. Then you'll be able to see inward of what is happening. We are talking about, we are investing a lot into refinery that are not working. We are doing a lot, it's not working, and same man is sitting there. I don't know the number of years he has spent there. Even if he's doing something, I can't see anything coming out of the office other than propaganda that Kaduna refinery will work, Port Harcourt refinery will work. But I still expect sanity in that sector. I expect Mele Kyari to be out. If he goes out, when they remove Emefiele, we saw a lot of things that shouldn't be seen in CBN. Yaya Bello is out, we are seeing a lot. Take Mele Kyari out. Even if it's insane, let's see if there's sanity in that sector.
Okay.
This is the only thing we rely on.
All right,
9%.
I hear you.
If we have, like you said, just 1% means a lot to us. Maybe if we lose, we can see 1%. Maybe we can channel all our effort to it. And at the same time, I don't know, maybe it's too early to appraise. Almost 1 year of Tinubu. If I look at the ministers, I think I can just mention 3 to 4 of them that I can see that are working.
Which
like
which one is working?
So people may not agree with me. The man in FCT is working.
I don't know about that.
Or maybe it's making noise, but we can see something coming out of the place.
Who is the third guy?
I'm talking of Wiki. Another person is Minister of Work. Aside these people, don't say no that minister in Nigeria.
Okay, so Hills. Olumide, you know the Twitter title is basically saying what's good in Nigeria. What's your take on 2 ministers? I think the Minister of Interior, yes, I think he had that bad rap with the Minister of Humanitarian, but I think he has shown workings. The passport thing in Nigeria, he went in there, he fixed it. I think he has fixed it, right? Also, the Minister of Works. So I think I agree with him with Minister. I don't like the Minister of Works before, but I think he's doing a good job in terms of his job description. He's fixing things around the country. and Minister of Interior. What's your take on the media? Do you have any other minister you think are doing a good job or should do a shout out to?
I think I think it's very few to be honest. But, I think we can't forget the digital or communication minister.
Oh, Bosun? Yeah.
He has been quite engaging, and despite the fact that many of us have been quite worried about his elitist approach, especially and things like that. It shows that he really wants to innovate that industry.
He's engaged. He
keeps himself. But there's so many dormant ministries, like
so many,
like health, marine, education. In fact, I write a lot, and to be honest with you, I can't name 7 ministers.
Well, look, there's actually a ministry called.
Why they're doing it? Because I know why they're doing that. Why they're doing it also, he has the right temperament. He was someone that I really applauded the president for appointing, particularly that position. But maybe because of the gentleman style and the fact that he's dealing with tigers, hyenas, and vultures, he might not fit in the style that we anticipated. But he seems to be trying to do something, but we've not like what Cardoso has shown workings and we've not seen that on the political side. But I think those are the 3 ministers that I want to mention.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Waledu is our quote-unquote constituency, right? So that's our Ministry of Finance and all that. So I would just say on his own take, I think he's moving slow. I think he's not done anything wrong, but I think he's moving slow. Mr. Cardoso, I think he's doing everything right. He's moving with speed. I can't fault Mr. Cardoso on really anything I think he has done. But Mr. Wale, I think Mr. Wale is doing the right thing, but moving a bit too slow. Minister of Interior, good job on that. The works guy, I think, is doing some work with the limited resources he has. I don't know about the other guys. That's how I will leave it. Anambra.
Sorry, Carlo.
Oxley. Let's put Anambra. Go ahead.
Oxley. So good evening, Kanu and everyone. So I've been listening to this conversation. It's something that I really have interest in, because I've been listening to where a lot of us have been mentioning Cardoso, and you see, ever since this government came into power, there has been a lot of noise around Cardoso, the CBN, the Forex, and it appears this is the only thing that matters in our economy. Carlo, I tell you, majority of Nigerians don't know who our current finance minister is. They don't know his name. They don't even know what he looks like. And anytime we talk about, I was hearing what Olumide was saying, talking about how Cardoso has really done well. But if you look at the economy, and from my perspective, or what I understand, whatever thing that we are talking about today, or whatever thing that we're expecting to happen to the economy of Nigeria, especially looking at the current situation, we are hoping to see diversification of revenue. We are hoping to see fiscal discipline. We are hoping to see a lot of good things happening. Tackling of corruption, blocking loopholes, expanding business frontiers, promoting other aspects of the economy, like agriculture. These things are not what, in my opinion, I don't think it's what is on the table of CBN, because he's clearly responsible for monetary policy. So this fiscal policy that is really, really most critical to the development of the economy, it's not really much talked about. People don't hardly talk about it. Why? You hear people talk about Forex. Every now and then we talk about dollar is increasing. Are we not talking about the promotion of agriculture? Are we not talking about the ease of doing business? Look at the infrastructure. What are the critical infrastructure that we need in this country? So what I'm saying is that, for example, doing business, interstate relationship, doing business within states in Nigeria, how easy has it been? Carlo, do you know how difficult it is to move from one state, for example, going to Benue State, for example, to buy goods.
Bro, I'm not defending anybody here. I'm not attacking. We're just having an economic talk. So
it's
I'm not
difficult.
okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, but I want to get your point. What's your point? Where are you going to?
The point I'm making really is that we focus so much on the CBN and the monetary.
We're an economic Twitter page. That's why we're focusing on all that stuff. That's really just that's where we have interesting.
My point is, if we really interested in talking about, if we really want to the economy to work, we should put our touchlight squarely on where fiscal policy, supposed to operate, because these are places where it directly affects the people. You talk about promotion of regional economy, you talk about diversification of our economy, you talk about every other things that falls between the fiscal policy. These are the things that I expect the country to focus on, instead of everybody talking about the forest every now and then. And I feel like, hold on, let me just land. I feel like the more we talk about it, the more we take our eyes away from the fiscal policies that are needed to drive the SMEs, to drive the economy. You cannot do business in most of the
Nobody's arguing with that, sir.
Because of insecurity.
I want us to move on.
I'm not talking about this.
No, I want us to move on. I want to move on. Nobody's arguing that. You are making the same point we're making. We just have a topic today. I don't want us to argue on that.
I think
we agree with what you're saying.
I think since I've known Kalu, and I think my reports, I think fiscal has always taken, it's because of your following. You're on the political space. Maybe you don't. We talk about fiscal on the fiscal side a lot. In fact, if you Google my name and food inflation, I talk about food inflation more than FX. But you see, the problem is that in Naira on social media, because of the speculative allowance around it, and the fact that a lot of people are faced with the FX market, it tends to be trendy. The reality is that a lot of us talk about this issue. But the problem is that we don't listen with the politics. We don't listen with the policies, because we've seen how dangerous. Just look at the way people throw when we make comments relating to the political economic system of Nigeria. So look at the logistic issue you're talking about. We've spoken countless times that Nigeria needs to consider doing infrastructure on the economic line. We've spoken on the importance of those things. But we realize that when you get to a certain segment, it's wisdom. When you see it's just trolling, and you see, I'm happy you are on this space. You guys need to do a lot, because the truth of the matter is that it's not insulting. It's not trolling that solves economic issues. Economic issues are solved by the technocrats understanding the problem and bringing out policies for constituencies to work on. What we need right now is that people are hungry. How do we solve food inflation? Now, we solve food inflation not just by security, we solve food inflation by also putting pressure on the fiscal side to improve governance. How come a state, like we mentioned earlier, has 44% inflation rate? What is a state like Abia? Abia is a cocoa producing state. Why is it that the fire outbreak, what has government done in the case of cocoa plantation in that region? In the south, despite the fact that we have coastline region, why is fish farming on very low levels? These are questions we need to. You see, you can't bring this kind of conversations on podcast. So many times people think we don't talk about these things, but people that listen and people that see what we write, we see them.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm speaking based on what I've listened to so far, and I just wanted to add that the Nigerian economy and what are the good story. In my opinion, I've not really seen any good story. We have been be entertained with the dollar forex, story every now and then, and that's why I stepped up here to talk about it, because I felt that I've not really heard about it. But you have put this, in a right direction, saying that it has always been the topic. Maybe because I haven't been consistent on this page. But my point is, we should put fire on Wale Adu much more than we put on Cardoso. Cardoso, for me, is not the problem. It's not a problem, because if we get the fiscal policy side right, if we get our, like you talked about, the people are hungry, if we get our farmers, back to farm, if we get everything done, people are not going to be hungry. People are going to see food to eat. One of the biggest contributors to the inflation is the food. People don't see things to buy from the market because it's very expensive. Farmers are no longer going back to their farms because of the security. What are they doing to restore that? So that is, for me, that is what I expect a lot of Nigerians, especially people like you who are in the finance space, to continually talk about. It's good that you pointed out we are talking about this. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
All right, super. Let's get Lam. Lam, I've got Mr. Lam. I am Lam. Go ahead.
Hi, Carlo. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. And Carlo, first of all, please open your DM for this your new account so that we can.
It's not open. Is it open? Sorry.
I can't do DM, sure. Okay. Well, I actually listened to the conversation earlier, and I wish I came in two questions ago, because it was trending up along with my line of thought. First of all, I don't agree that Cardoso is relative. I know he's a smart guy. He has shown us that he's a smart guy. But my own problem, and it goes along with my question. I feel like he's putting us in more trouble than we are ready to talk about. So this is why I'm bringing my question.
Yeah.
I know your own answer, so I'm going to face Ogunide right now, because Ogunide is the optimistic person here. So,
oh my God.
Do you agree that Cardoso should continue the current levels of borrowing, given the current fiscal status of the country? Meaning that with what we know that how slow wallet has been, should Cardoso continue the current levels of borrowing, whatever he's been borrowing? And secondly, what are the implications of the borrowings that we have done so far on the economy in the next couple of months, when the payments of these borrowings are due?
Okay, so good question now, but I'm sure you are aware where we are coming from, with how things got so bad that different CBN chiefs were trying to stabilize our market. Cardoso brought confidence to the naira and amplified stability in our FX market, at least in the short term. It deserves its onions. And if you look at when he spoke in Washington, the resilience of optimism, in our markets was amplified, and that has brought in inflows. So you see, let's look at that as a win for the short term. Now, the mid-term is that will it go on? It definitely needs to. Now, that's why we're waiting for the Fed meeting on Wednesday. So these things are built. You cannot just make projections on static analysis. The markets move. They oscillate. They don't stay in one form. So what Cardoso definitely will be working on is how to maintain the status quo, build on that. So definitely interest rates might be more aggressive. If you look at the Bloomberg data on central banks around the world, Nigeria's central bank was one of the most aggressive. So it tells you that it has taken the fight on inflation and market stability. Though that has put a cost on consumption, because when businesses cannot grow easily, consumption become much more tepid, warm or lukewarm. So for those that are concerned about treasury bills that are expiring, they will be short term definitely. But see, let me tell you the catch. The catch is that as long as rates remain elevated, they'll still be better. Yeah, cost of borrowing. But what Carlos said, and it's something that Cardoso definitely will be banking on, is that things will improve. So what they are looking at is that while the World Bank's $2.35 billion coming in, Holland's reported $500 million coming in, and different FPIs, FGIs also improving, the Apex Bank would have that laxity to relax the hawkish narrative. But as it is right now, there's nothing that guy has done that has not shown a high level. All the things he has done so far has shown a high level of competence. Because see, remittance has dropped in all markets. If you look at what is happening in Egypt, look at what is happening in South Africa. The reason why things in our own side seems to look so bad, and particularly among major markets, is partly because we have anemic FX savings. We did not save so much FX, even when we had robust on-export earnings. And subsidy right now is still back because petrol prices are stationary. Brent crude is $87 a barrel. Burning light is $3 ahead of Nigeria's ahead of Brent, so it's about $92 a barrel. So it means that the fact that we are paying that price for a liter of oil is either the president, is either Nigeria is doing financial engineering or something is in play. But the Minister of Finance, the State Minister of Petroleum has denied that there's no subsidy. But the numbers are showing differently. So we still have some problems on that side because subsidy takes a chunk of government's revenue. That's another problem that we've also forgotten. Then on the subsidy of FX, that has moderated significantly. You see the numbers of people traveling during the time of Emefiele at 460 to the UK schools. Number of schools, while you could say that has dropped on the upper middle class or the trending guys on social media, it has given the country some savings on that side. So the subsidy that we are really talking about now is the so-called intervention, which seems to be negligible. So far, I think we don't need to worry on that side. What we should worry on now is the fiscal side, keeping up with the time the CBN has enacted.
So, sorry, you didn't answer this. My second question. You answered it, but you answered it in an optimistic tone.
Yeah.
But we have to be, like Carlo has been realistic with us so far, that we cannot depend on agriculture for the next 12 months. Right now, given the current fiscal nature of the country, we are not seeing anything that the government is doing to improve oil production, to get to the number of barrels per day that we need to get to.
I know what I'm saying, but the fact is that
given the implication that, sorry, let me frame the question so that you understand what I'm trying to say. Given the frame that we are not likely to hit the number of barrels that we have targeted in our budget, do you agree that Kadusha should keep borrowing for till whenever the fiscal side are ready to get their acts together?
What's his option?
I'm not the opinion chief, but the truth of the matter is that things will not get worse this year. I can give you my projection. I've read Morgan Stanley's outlook, and presently I was working on Renaissance Capital before this piece, and I'll tell you why. If you look at the federal government, they've created a kind of project where they will attract about $10 billion in the oil sector. You also look at the regeneration. Investments are coming in core sectors of the economy. And we are also seeing that Siemens, the electrical projects that were not abandoned, it seems to be pretty good. While the federal government has created, they are looking for the expertise of consultants to create the police of this. So the truth of the matter is, on the macro, things will not get worse. But this is my fear, where a lot of people don't understand. The macro looks good. It's looking good. It's looking good. But the micro, the average Nigerian is not seeing that impact. And why is the average Nigerian not seeing that impact? Because the liquidity is not getting to the local government area. Agriculture, health, education, those are the core necessity of the average Nigerian. They are not seeing that impact. So my fear here is that while the president is looking and his team is focusing on the macro, we need to be talking on the micro. Because look at it, Gary is not exported. Gary has done better than GT, UBA, Access, year to date, price change. So it means that I bought Gary in January, I've done better than someone that bought GT stock in January. That is despicable.
Yeah.
I can't.
Lamb, we gotta move on. Lamb, we gotta move on. You've asked two questions. We gotta move on.
So if nothing improves on the fiscal side of things, if what they do and the government don't get to increase the number of barrels per day that we need to, what is the implication of in the next 1 year when the borrowings are due?
We have to, and we'll restructure. We'll restructure those. Ghana restructured.
Status school, things will not. If anywhere you're going driving now, things will not get bad the next 12 months because the truth of the matter is that the system has already created policies to improve the Nigerian entity. Look at tax. We are waiting for tax. There are the tax policies that will come out, and tax is like in the United States. Tax is the most important revenue. United States don't even depend. Tax is the biggest revenue. So if Nigeria improves the tax to their tax revenue to GDP, if it improved, then definitely the TP production in our other sector would not really show. But I agree with what Carlos said. Don't get it wrong. All is the derivative of the naira. But the reality is that so far, the Apex Bank and the impact of the Nigerian economy has been able to moderate the worsening situation on the macro side.
Again, just big picture, guys. Big picture. Nigeria is now plugged into the global economy. I'm watching President Tinubu give his speech at the Global Economic Forum in Saudi Arabia. You know what he's telling them? He's saying we have floated in naira. He's saying that we have removed subsidy. Why is he saying that? Because that's what you say to get foreign investors to come to your country. You cannot fix your economy and lock your currency to a fixed rate and say you won't subsidize or you keep on paying subsidy on PMS. So President Tinubu is marketing to the foreign investors by telling them that the currency in Nigeria is freely floating. And that would be correct based on what he's saying. But if you then come back home, you see the Central Bank of Nigeria doing these sales at 1,000, well below the market price because they want to bring down the price, So the essence of what I'm saying is you've got to export to make your currency have value. Somebody was accusing me now on Twitter for giving you guys, I said there's 5.25 investment in America right now, risk-free. I've put up the bank on my page. I've put the website link directly to the US bank. 5.25 FDIC guaranteed in America if you have dollars. So what this means is that it's harder for Nigeria, not just Nigeria, developing economies to attract foreign capital because the bulk of the folks in America or in the world don't like risk. No one likes risk. So if I'm going to get 5.25% guaranteed, why would I go to Nigeria for 8%, 9%, even 10%? I'm working with 5.25 if inflation in America is tops 3%. So I'm making 2% real return with absolutely no risk. This is the point we're not getting. We are not competing with GTB or Ghana or Egypt. We are competing with the United States of America. And America today is offering 5.25. It's on my Twitter timeline with a link to the website. Before you say I'm giving you the Lambda. 5.25 APY, annual percentage rate. That's what you're competing with. So even if GTB is offering more, that's in Nigeria. This is in America. FDIC, not NDIC. So that's the point I'm making, that when you are going global, the president has got to speak as Nigeria being a country that is liberal and open for business. You can't go abroad and tell Nigerians that, CBN or Cardoso will buy. No, you can't say that. So we know that what we're doing back home is not what will sell abroad. We know that. So we have to take dressing when we are talking to the foreigners. Henry, you've got the floor. Mr. Henry, see Henry.
Please, can I speak just a minute?
Real quick, Oakley, real quick.
Which is that we are following the international trend. But don't you think also that we are swallowing too much of that deal, which is to align our economy? Can you hear me?
I'm not stopping you. I'm not saying any word.
All right. So, don't you think we are swallowing too much of that pill? So, Nigeria, in the case of Nigeria, the physical side, it's like a man that is sick that needed to be gotten that needed, to be taken to an intensive care. And in the intensive care room, too many injections were administered at the same time, and the man that is sick is practically shut down completely. Yes, there are a bit of things that the physical side we are implementing from the World Bank. I understand from what we have seen and from what we've heard from the Minister of Finance, it's like a template was given to them from the World Bank, the IMF, which is what they do. Buhari resisted some of those templates, but this government is doing those templates, and they are doing it very, very well. And that is why you will see at every milestone, so some loans are released to the federal government.
Correct.
A 2.1 billion stock was released, I think it was last week. So it's as if that template is being implemented judiciously.
Correct.
And I have worry over that, because our economy, the peculiarities of our economy is not being taken into consideration here.
Correct.
So this man that is Nigeria is in intensive care and have gotten more than 100 shots of injection that has now put it to almost. I mean, you can't take out the shocks. Subsidy, floating of the naira, electricity subsidy gone, increasing the tariffs here and there. I mean, it's too many coming in at the same time on the body of one man. That guy will die at the end of. I mean, it's too much. So
Okay. Oxley, Oxley.
There seems to not have been a plan to face this thing.
I hear you.
Coming 6 months. This one coming.
Oxley, I hear you, but we have to let others to speak. The point is that, so what's the option? You have to, if you pull up a budget. I got into trouble last time when I said revenue was debt. If you pull up a budget, right, and you want to finance your budget, what do? You either export, you tax, or you borrow. We're not exporting, we are not taxing, so we have to borrow. That's literally it. If you pull up a budget, there are just those ways you finance the budget. You export, you tax, or you borrow. Net exports are up, but the export number of crude oil is down. That's the problem. Tax revenues in Nigeria are down as a share of GDP. So we have to borrow. I'm not saying it's good. I am saying it's the reality. You've got to go out and borrow to cover the budget. We can make an argument if we are borrowing at the right price and if we are spending right. But you have to go borrow. That's the point. Frank Wells, go ahead. Frank, please go ahead. Frank Wells, go ahead. Frank, you've got the floor, or if Frank is ready, let's go to the real Bella. Let me get the real Bella. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Hello, Mr. Kali, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. Go ahead.
All right, good evening, everyone. Recently, I've been following the trend of what the CBN governor has been doing in reference to trying to fix the FX rate. I believe he attended the conference and he said he's not defending Naira. Personally, I believe he's lying. I don't know. I don't know how well he wants to say that.
I think lie is a strong word. I think he said the CBN is defending Naira, but I don't think you should say he's lying. I think that's a very, very strong word.
Okay, well, pardon my language, because from what he said, okay, I can't really picture how he said it, but okay, well, maybe, but then I know he's defending Naira. Do you understand? Because he portrays it like he's not defending. So, like 4 times, the CBN has disbursed effort to BDCs.
Yes.
Yes. And then currently they disbursed as well at 1,025 Naira. And each time they disburse, the Naira gains value.
Yes.
But recently that has been disbursed, the Naira is not gaining value. It's dropping. So I don't know what is the cause of this. Because if they could disburse.
I think the market is seeing that the issues of the naira goes beyond the price at the BDC level. So I think people are saying, this looks like we are defending the currency by selling at the BDC. So I give the example of George Soros in the past. Remember when I said George Soros in the past? It's a perception issue. If the market believes that the Central Bank of Nigeria has enough ammunition to defend that currency that is quoting at, it will go ahead and follow the Central Bank of Nigeria. What the CBN is saying when they sell at 1,200 is that if you take your naira to any bank in Nigeria, you will receive dollars if you give them 1,200. That's incorrect. We all know if you go to the banks in Nigeria and you give them 1,200 or whatever figure the CBN is selling at BDCs, you will not get dollars. But the CBN is signaling that that's the price it intends to defend the exchange rate. So I think the market is then saying, CBN, I think you are moving too fast on this. I think the CBN, in terms of the strategy, got it correct, but I think they went too fast. They should have bought it at maybe 1,400. Then you wait for 2 weeks. Then you go 1,350. Then you wait for 2 weeks. So that what will happen is that in the minds of the holders of the dollars, they see the dollars falling, but it's falling at a slower rate. There is no way on earth you're going to go in 1 month 1,400 to 1,000. Come on. I was making this tweet. The dollar is rising and the naira is rising. Two of them can't rise at the same time. People are saying it's the index, but two currency pairs can't rise at the same time. So in terms of the deployment, I know you're going to talk about after in terms of the rollout, I think they went a bit too fast. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think I just wanted to attack that. Just in that part of the country. Hold on, please. I wanted to attack that part. You see, I think we need to understand that when the CBN is talking, he's very sensitive at the words he uses. Now, defending, on the context might mean it's safeguarding, protecting, or intervention. But when you put that strong word in market, it means a different ballgame, especially where you're coming from. Now, when I say I'm in an intimate or I'm in a romantic, it might mean similar things, but if you understand the honors at which that word is used, then you will know the impact. So first of all, you will not follow the space area because we spoke about the objective of supplying FX to the BTC. Cardoso has said that the amount going to BTC is negligible. And the figures and data show that. See, the reason why the naira strength is so fast, when the former CBN chief was saying that the demand in the parallel market was artificial, a lot of people said no, it's not artificial because a lot of people cannot have access. And the media was playing along those theories. But the first quarter of 2024 has shown that demand in the parallel market is clearly artificial. That was why.
How? How? Explain this to me. How is it artificial?
Yes, I'm hold on. So these are three things. So if you understand market hypothesis, look at the liquidity from January to April. Now, the naira on February 2024. The date of 24th of 2024 was at a low of 1,910. As at the first ending of March to first week of April, it was already testing the 1,000 levels. Now, Carl is asking why the demand was artificial. So this is what happens in the market. Now, they are known, right? Now, resistance is where it's like a ceiling. Now, support is like a defense. So this is when a currency breaks the resistance, when the currency is appreciated, when it breaks it, the market theory is that when resistance are broken sequentially, it means that it's either the volume is not strong or the market is manipulated. Now, if you look at the events that had happened in the FX market, you cannot tell me that, like now, that was why I was telling that product, I was saying that, why is any bank not trading like global price? Any bank is very liquid. It will take a very sophisticated hedge fund manager or someone that has serious liquidity to move Zenith Bank to levels that, and disposable income is big. But in the FX market, the market is primarily illiquid, and that was why you could see that Cardoso came out and said, "See, I only the FMD data showed that only $583 million was used to change the market to this level."
No, I won't agree with you. I won't agree with you. Olimide, you're a trader. The last registered trade is the closing price. The last registered trade. So if I want to move, if I have 100 naira, I give you a true story. True story. I was working at an investment bank in Lagos. Every day, the price of Guinness and Nestle was going up in price. We were doing meetings. I've given you a story before. We were doing meetings. Why is it going up? Oh, fundamentals. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Every day it will go up. Guinness will go up. Nestle will go up. Every single day. What was happening? What eventually was happening? Because we couldn't see it on the fundamentals. There was an IG of police that got corruption money from process of corruption, gave it to a stockbroker and told them to buy at any price. They didn't care about the price. So these guys were buying him Nigerian breweries and Nestle at any price. And that moved up the price from where it was to where we were seeing and causing issues. So the last registered price is the closing market price. So when a CBN sells dollars at 1,200, there's no currency market in Nigeria. There is no currency market in Nigeria. There's a BDC market. There's the black market, quote unquote. There is NAFEX market. But if I'm a trader and I look at the CBN is selling at 1,200, I'm not going to sell at 1,201. I won't. So invariably, I'm using the CBN is using the market to set the closing and opening price. That's what they were doing.
I think we are missing. I'm trying to show you how demand was artificial.
How?
Look at today. The black market and the official market. Which one is stronger? Where is Naira stronger? It's the black market. The Naira is stronger at the black market than the official market.
It just means there's no communication between those markets. Efficient market theory. It just means that both markets are not talking because there's no market in Nigeria. We have siloed markets. They don't talk. If you go to America today, they have people that send money through informal means. The Harajua, those Middle Eastern guys use it. They send money out of America through informal means. The price they quote for you in the Harajua, I don't know what the name we call it, is the same you get in the bank, but you pay them a fee. But you buy this dollar to say Pakistani whatever, or dollar to Indian rupee, you buy it at the same price from them. What they charge you is the transfer fee. That's where they now make their profit. But no guy will sell you a dollar at $1 to Pakistani whatever. When do you know you can walk into Bank of America and get the same dollar? It's different in Nigeria. In Nigeria, there's no the markets don't talk. BDCs don't talk with the black market, don't talk with the bank. They look at the markets themselves, waiting they sell, then they set their own prices. So you can't use that.
Was what CBN gave to BDC in
signaling. That's the signaling, Olumide. That's the signaling. You can't. I've seen this argument on Twitter. They are arguing that because CBN sold 60 million and the market was, for instance, 6 billion, that you cannot use 60 million to move 6 billion. It's not true. That's the CBN is saying that this price is 6.
We are saying the same thing so that you don't get what I'm saying is that if the market is not artificial, you can't use such minute liquidity to move the market.
Okay.
Why the CBN was able to? We're saying the same. That's what I'm saying. What I'm trying to tell you that the market was artificial because the amount of money the CBN used to control that market was embarrassing.
Okay.
Because I thought that
I concede.
Demand was. That's where I think.
Okay. But let me ask you a question. Do you think the value of the naira is more of the 14ish or the 1000ish? Where do you think it's rest? The 1000ish or the 14ish?
I think I'm with Goldman Sachs.
I think it's about 800, 900. If you ask me, I think it's about 800, 900.
I give that point. But you see, the macros right now, that's why I said I'm with Goldman Sachs. The reason why I'm with Goldman Sachs is that Goldman Sachs analysis was not even, they didn't talk much on the fiscal side. I'm looking at if Cardoso can still maintain
And if the fiscal side is sleeping, okay, if the fiscal side picks up, definitely unassessed capital's outlook where the naira is undervalued around 912 will come to play. But
Gotcha.
I'm not looking at the fiscal side right now. I'm looking at the fact that, okay, with present condition and how Cardoso has shown his workings.
All right.
This is.
I think we've gone to an agreement. I agree with you. Joseph, hop in real quick. Joseph, what's up, man?
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Kalu. What I just wanted to chip in then was when the real Bella, I think the real Bella was talking about Cardoso's interview.
Mm-hmm.
I think what Cardoso established in that interview was that the real intention, like what the CBN is doing currently, is not actually the real intention of the CBN. So he didn't really say that CBN was not defending Naira. What he established at the beginning was that what they are doing presently is not the real intention of the CBN. That the real intention of the CBN is to get the situation to a market reflective. I've forgotten his diction. The market reflective, where it's going to be a willing seller, a willing buyer, whatever. I've forgotten the exact diction he used. So he didn't actually say that.
But what do you think? Is the CBN defending Naira? What's your take? Is the CBN defending Naira? Yes or no, maybe?
For me, my take is that, even if we call it defense technically, but it's not the way it's been happening in the past. You get? So what CBN is doing now is the portion of the CBN is giving a portion of an actor in the.
So it's a new. So if I hear you right, it's just a different way to defend. I mean, and you're right, because in the past we defend Naira by funding NAFEX markets.
By just pumping, and that is actually the real
defense.
Corruption. That's where the real corruption sets in.
Okay, but now it's a defense. It's a defense, but it's more of a. Should we say it's a more formalized defense?
Yes. Now, so like a player in that space.
Okay.
Yes. Now, a player that determines what happens. Also,
because,
so
but Joseph,
when you have influence, when you're a player in a particular space and you wield that influence, you understand? Whatever is your position seems to be the position of many in that space.
Joseph, so, help me out here. Why is the CBN so worried about being tagged as defending Naira? Every currency defends. I just listened to the Bank of Japan. They want to defend. The Bank of Vietnam says they're going to go in and pump 25 billion to defend the currency. China, of course, is defending. They've been labeled a currency manipulator. London defends. Why is the CBN of Nigeria so worried?
Yes.
Why?
Don't forget where we are coming from. Don't forget. Somebody. Don't forget where we are coming from. Don't forget the optics. Don't forget when Nigeria hear about defense, defending Naira. Don't forget how it's been doing, it's been happening in the past. So it's very important for CBN to take that stand that, hey, this is not the game as usual. Because the moment CBN accept that, of course, you have a role in defending Naira, you don't leave your currency volatile and open like that. The moment the CBN takes that position, then the next day you start seeing journalists saying, it's the same thing they are doing in the past. It's the same corruption. It's the same way. So it is important for CBN to take that position and say that, no, it is not the defense you are referring to.
So it's more of messaging, because it's messaging.
Exactly. We emphasize the word defensive. And I think Cardoso understands the market and the media that works within this jurisdiction.
Because
you cannot. I understand what you're saying. It was good in the Nigerian market, for example.
I tell
you, look at how Nigerians react to crash and defending and rally. So
going forward, I will stop using the word Nigeria is defending the currency. I will stop because I'm actually. I'm not. Cardoso, CBN, they're my friends. I'm actually not. I see what they are doing. I see where they are coming from. I understand what they are doing, right? So when I post the defender and the post say he didn't defend, you see lots of. I'm like, what are you saying? That's what he's doing. Then people say he's not defending. Okay, but Joseph has sort of, in a nice way. It's a messaging. We don't want to get it. I get that. I think it makes sense. It makes sense. But to come out and say he's not defending the Naira, it seems funny because he is defending the Naira. But just appreciate that insight and that knowledge there. Chinedu Nibe, you've got the floor, sir. Chinedu, go ahead. Michael, have you spoken? Michael, you've spoken before, Abi.
Thank you very much.
Chinedu, go ahead. I'll get Michael next. Chinedu, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Chinedu, I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just touch the point that I wanted to.
I think you've dropped off. Chinedu, if you can hear me, I can hear you again.
Can I speak?
Frank, yeah, go ahead. Chindu, if you can hear me, you speak out of Frank. Because I called Frank earlier, and Chindu, I can hear you again. So, Chindu, get yourself right. Frank, what happened? We called you right back.
Good evening, Colonel. Sorry, I stepped out.
All right, gotcha. What's up, man?
Very well. How are you?
I'm very well, sir. Thank you.
Yes, the first-time speaker. I must say your session is very insightful.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to say this. Taking a lead from the topic, the Nigerian economy. What are the good stories so far? Well, for me, I don't want to sound like a pessimist, but I'll say it, and everyone I know believe, or every one of us know that for now, there are no good stories. Not wanting to sound like a pessimist.
You're breaking our hearts.
Is there hope? Yes. However, hope is not a strategy. We want to see a workable strategy the economic team is coming up with to get us out of the woods. Now, about Cardoso defending the Naira. Clearly, they are defending the Naira. Now, let me put you through on why, if you watch for the past 2-3 days, the dollar fell a bit. There was a spike on Tuesday. That's the dollar against the Naira. There was an upward spike. And there was an intervention on Wednesday, and then another intervention on Friday. This was what kind of stabilized it a bit, brought it down a bit. But as I speak to you, the dollar has picked up again. So, have we gotten the right strategy in place? I don't think, no. For the short term, the frequent pumping of dollar into the market appears to be the way to go. However, how sustainable is this strategy? I don't think so. So I think the team have to come up with a more workable strategy on how we go from here. That's just
it's like real quick for you. So you said the dollar fell because, say it again, please, just for
yes, there was a spike. I think that was on Tuesday. There was a sudden spike where it rose to 1,400, 450. That was on Tuesday thereabouts. However, there was this intervention, and I think the intervention stood at the rate of 1,150. That's on the LC. Yes, yeah. The LCs that were there. The backlog of obligations, some outstanding LC obligations and BC obligations. That was on Wednesday, and then on Friday there was another one on Friday, which immediately brought down the price. However, as I start today, the dollar began to pick up again. So for me, I think there needs to be a more workable strategy. This strategy they have adopted, this short-term strategy won't really solve the problem. Really, I don't see it solving the problem. As for the FX, the deficit is quite wide. We have such a wide margin in the balance of trade market. So there has to be a more stronger cushion to that effect. And then also, I want to chip in this in terms of agriculture. I visited Akure some weeks back, and in one of my questions, because I had interest at some point in cocoa plantation in Akure. I visited somewhere around Owena, if you're familiar with that artist. That used to be a very prominent cocoa market in the 80s/early 90s. And then while in my quest to know why that market, which was a very prominent market that that was one of the markets that actually put us in the limelight in terms of cocoa production, and that place is completely deserted. No cocoa planting, no more cocoa plantations going on there.
Wow.
And you see that this is due to direct neglect of the government in that sector. There's a total neglect.
And Frank, cocoa is $10,000 a ton now. $10,000 a ton.
Thank you. And you can see what should have been coming in as export proceeds into the country if we had a government interested in that sector. And what is even missing out there when I went there was nothing. All the farmers needed was a source of irrigation, and then the manure, the fertilizers. This was just all that was lacking, and why that place was left to lie fallow with nothing happening there. So these are the avenues that we could get these effects that we're talking about. But everybody's just focused on oil. And how long will oil take us, by the way? So that's just
the largest producer of cocoa now is that Akwa Ibom axis, Cross River Akwa Ibom axis, are now producing more cocoa than the traditional southwest of Nigeria. So southwest of Nigeria, folks, you've got to talk to your governors. You're losing out on that traditional cocoa house was in the southwest. You're losing out. It's going now to the south. You're losing out, and it's $10,000 per ton. So there's an incentive there for you guys to ask those questions. What's going on? And perhaps get that stuff in there. Andrew, where did you drop off? Just want to make you speak. Andrew, if you can come back in. Abdul Kadri. Abdul Kadri, thank you, sir. Mr. Frank, I appreciate you hanging in there to speak again. Thank you so much. Abdul Kadri, go ahead. You're welcome, sir. Abdul Kadri, go ahead. Abdul Kadri going once. Abdul Kadri going twice. Abdul Kadri, I can't hear you. Very low, sir. Can you speak up?
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you, sir. We've got about 10 minutes to go, Abdul Kadri, so hop right quick, sir. Hop right quick. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. I just want to talk much about the naira against dollar stuff. Based on my insight, according to my insight, what the government are trying to do to tackle the USD stuff, the currency devaluation against the dollar, I don't think it's an appropriate way, because Nigerian government using the CBN are trying to force things. And when we are talking of currency against currency, it's not what can be forced. It has to be willingly occurred. Let's put it this way. Let's follow this man says, the Adam Smith. I don't know if he's a popular scholar, popular economic scholar. So Adam Smith talks about invisible arms when it comes to exchange. There is something called invisible trade, invisible government arms, whereby the demand will equate the supply. The demand for what you want will determine the supply of what you get. So now, coming to equating that into the USD, into the currency market, I believe the government wants to operate or regulate the currency. They just need to provide a source of security. All what government needs to do in the currency market is to provide a source of security for the exchange, not them regulating it by themselves, by force. Government are trying to pump in more currency in order to devalue money, and that's not possible. They just keep pumping money and it will get swallowed up. So I believe if government can allow free interaction of dollar and USD, or the demand and supply of dollars against naira, all they need to do is to provide security. They should provide the security that will guide the exchange. If they can provide security that will guide the exchange of USD and naira, I believe that there should be a way out on that.
All right, Adora, I got you. So you're talking about free interplay, provide security, let the free market prices cover. That's where you're going to. Comments well noted. So I hear you. So Adora, we're going to round up. So I got Akin and I've got one more person, and we'll just shut down the space because we've spent 3 hours, guys. 3 hours. Akin, you've got the floor. Welcome back. How you doing, sir? Go ahead. Adora, thank you for your comments. Akin, you've got the floor.
Okay, so I think the
the two things I'm very happy about that's currently happening in the countries, I think the exchange rate issue, they've been able to stabilize it, even though it's been due to a lot of interventions and all of that. They can't really credibly say they're not intervening when you're selling at progressively lower rates every other day and per auction. You know that they're indirectly defending the naira. So that is one bit. The second bit is on the education front. I would give them kudos for the student loan program. I think it can still be improved on, but that's a good step in the right direction. So I'll give them 2 hands on that. Although even the exchange rate thing too, I can't really fault them, because when they were faced with about 3 months worth of imports, there's really nothing that they could do. They can't try to defend the naira because they didn't have so much reserves anyway. But they played a bad hand really well, and they're sort of coming up out of it. But I know you may have noticed I'm much more interested in the long run economic policy making, and still I feel that we're still running the whole economy in this short term, and unfortunately the idea of, yes, maybe medium term we'll go into agriculture, it's still not a sustainable way to run the country, because our population, employment concerns and everything, Nigeria still has to industrialize. Industrialization should be our medium-term to longer-term policy, not agriculture. Agriculture should be much more down the line of how do you increase nutrition and how do you increase food security in the country, but nothing more than that. And also increase productivity, which is downstream of nutrition and the like. So yes, these are my 2 cents.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we missed out on this industrialization. In the 1970s, we had this industrial development plans 1, 2, and 3. And I think we're on the pathway. We had the plan. We were building industries in Kano, Kaduna, Port Harcourt, Lagos, all over the country. Railways, roads, linking them up and all that. And somewhere we stopped those industrial in development plans. We went back to Vision 2020. We went into services, went into banking, went into Nollywood. And we sort of dropped out of the manufacturing space. If you take away the manufacturing space, or take away Dangote from the manufacturing index in Nigeria, it comes to near negative, right? Near or zero growth and all that kind of stuff. So the cement guys, Dangote, who are the ones pushing that index up. But manufacturing in Nigeria is really suffering. 30% cost of power, no consumption, high interest loans. It's just a big struggle to be a manufacturer in Nigeria, and that's the big problem. But let's wind down the space if we could, guys. So we've reached it's about 3 hours. So we've got to sort of wind down. Olumide, we've heard a lot of people talk on the space today. We've heard a lot of folks talk about ministers, initiatives. We've talked naira, inflation, dollar. We talked everything, right? The long and short of what I hear, that people are maybe on the fence. Would you call that as a good category? People on the fence, they see a few green shoots here and there. But I noticed we couldn't get a traction on someone saying this has been well, this has been well, this has been well. People want more from the government, and they want the government to focus on the simple things that matter. Simple things, like you said, the water, the food, the corruption fight. There's a governor now on the run for taking $840,000 to pay to a school. Those simple things, more or less. So, what's your take as we close, right?
Yeah, it's been interesting. The conversation has been very educative, and in fact, I also got some insights from speakers. I think personally, history has. I take the side of history where you have to show work is, no matter how difficult the situation might be, and that
the fact that we spend 3 hours talking on spaces and the information we gathered, we need to amplify and work on them. So what I'm saying practically is that I follow Warren Buffett's school of thoughts that opportunities are when there are a lot of problems around the system. So there are a lot of discounted assets in Nigeria, mispriced opportunities, despite the fact that we are complaining about basic issues around affecting the lives of the populace. So for me, my take is this: if you are in Nigeria and you have to exposure, well, it won't cost you anything to consider having limited investment. Reach out to your investment bank. If you are a Nigerian and you are just starting your career, it's better you build your capacity and get acquainted with the Nigerian capital market through your stockbroker also. And lastly, they say that books open opportunities. I think, I remember Landmark. It was Landmark that audition took place, right?
That's why
Yeah.
that's why I have an affinity to what's going on in Landmark. I think we should even end with that. Let me go ahead.
Yeah, so I saw, critics and admirers bought your book, and I tell a lot of people that that book is very helpful, especially for people that want to understand Nigerian investment with offshore investment. At 18,000 naira, something you should get. Try and be reading. You see, one of the things I really benefited from Carlo personally is that he always shares insight, knowledge. So we don't agree, but we respect each other, and he's also a very civil person. In fact, he's not patient than I am, and I've learned a lot. So I think we can also build on that. You see, we might disagree, but we don't need to be hostile at each other. I have respect for a lot of people on the other side, and despite the fact that I have misgivings on certain entities, I respect their work. So we can always learn to be civil, and please, the interest of the country should be higher than our political affiliations, our tribal origin.
True.
Nigeria is one.
True.
And I wish you guys a very blessed coming week. Thanks for having me on this space, Carlo.
Excellent, Lumde. Excellent, right, guys? Thanks so much for hanging in here with us. We're here every weekend. We're talking money, the economy, personal finance. We're trying to break hard, long topic into simple stuff that you can go away. It's long form Twitter. We're usually here for 3 hours, long form Twitter, and we're just learning. Yeah, and it's recorded. It's going to be on the podcast, also on Twitter. Once the space is over, I put on the podcast and you can listen and you can go back and all that. It's a new handle, you've noticed. It's got a 2 instead of the 1. I still have issues with my one Twitter. It's still open, but I don't have access to it because of 2-factor authentication, but it's good. We'll take it from there. Lastly, I've been tweeting about landmark space, just like you guys have said. There's going to be a coastal road and all that kind of stuff. So my take is very, very simple. If you notice how there's a tweet people are bringing up about the coastal road. We have to build infrastructure. The coastal road is very important. It's more important than the beach. The coastal road is more important than the beach. The point is this: we have to respect the FDI of everyone, especially Nigerian FDI. There are many ways we could have done this to have a win-win for the private company and for the federal government. It's not impossible to build a road on the beach and still maintain the beach. If you take away the beach from an intimate company on the beach, you've taken away that thing that makes that place tick. So there can be a win-win. We don't have to win 100% win one side and 0% on the other side. So that's just my take. There can still be a win-win. This is FDI from a Nigerian, and I think we can still have a good ending of the story. That's just my take. So guys, to end the show, I'll just say go out on your week. Keep it simple. Keep it very, very simple. If you don't understand where to invest, ask for advice. If you're losing money, be careful to sell and don't actualize your loss. If you don't know, Google, ask before you invest. Watch inflation. It's a tough market out there, but he that has a plan always wins in the end. So on that note, thank you guys for hanging in here. I'll see you guys next week. And if you want to get the book, it's available on Amazon and on Roving Heights. Let's talk about your money. All my experience distilled in one book. I have not increased the price in Nigeria, even as dollar has increased tremendously. I've kept the price at the same price it's being sold. 18,000, Roving Heights, and Amazon. On that note, guys, love you all. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.